So people sent this into my Discord for me to watch. It's another Destiny video. What do we get, like a week break? Cool stuff. Anyway, it's with Cenk Uygur, which we now have to call Hassan's uncle. We used to call Hassan Cenk's nephew. Now we have to call Cenk Hassan's uncle, because I think that the Young Turks they're going down a little bit, and that's okay. That's life. Everybody, you know, goes a little down. I can't remember the rest of the songs, but anyway. And that's okay. But what I do find is interesting is that Destiny's on his way up, and it seems like he's kind of passing the Young Turks, you know. And they're like, oh, there's like they're grabbing onto the ladder, like, Destiny. And they grab onto that rung of the ladder. Destiny, boom! I'm gonna debate Destiny on this top. And you grab onto that rung of the ladder. It's incredible stuff. Let's just get into this video.
Rittenhouse saga to me was the whole Rittenhouse saga to me was Jacob Blake gets shot, and there's bad coverage in the media about it, making it seem like he was just an innocent guy getting in the car to drive away. Riots happen in Kenosha that get bad media coverage. You've got the CNN, the infamous CNN coverage, fiery protests, but mostly peaceful in the background. Then you've got Rittenhouse, you know, goes and does his thing, and then we get more bad coverage of that, in my opinion. I think a lot of the facts get misrepresented there in a lot of left-leaning media, and it just feels like we're on this never-ending train of stoking the fires of resentment, hatred, on top of misinformation and bad claims. And then at the end of the day, we all walk away feeling like we've done something good when we're just like kind of like preaching basically misinformation to the audience and everything.
Yeah, true. I mean, free Rittenhouse, am I right? It's crazy how people actually pushed him into being some kind of like weird right-wing hero. Like when he was just like a kid that crossed the state lines to go, you know, counter protest and, I don't know, clean buildings and stuff of graffiti. And then he got attacked by a guy. And then he defended himself. And then other people who thought that he was like that Rittenhouse was a bad guy went to attack him. And so, like, it's an unfortunate situation. And ultimately, it's the fault of the original person that attacked Kyle Rittenhouse. And, you know, apparently we can't realize that. But, you know, everything has to be a racism now. Even though the person who attacked Kyle Rittenhouse, not for nothing, was most likely a white liberal that was there to utilize issues of BLM to cause violence. What I like to call a virtue bully, somebody who doesn't really care about what's going on, but likes to use what's going on around them, likes to use social justice topics to commit some kind of act of violence, whether it's a cancellation for somebody like the city bike Karen, who literally, the whole situation was literally a nothing. It was two people arguing over a bike. It was literally not a big deal. And people going mental, talking about how she was somehow magically racist. It was insane. People are insane when it really just boils down to like, oh, the two of them want, like, the kid was hogging a bike that he wasn't going to use, and I don't think he used it for like hours later. And you know what? He's still not a bad person. He just should have been better. And you know what? She was pregnant. He should have conceded the bike to her. We need more goodness in the world for that. You know, pregnant women are, you know, they're literally repopulating society. We should give them a little more of a break. I know that maybe it's a little boomer of me, but. You know, and she got off like a 12-hour shift. So, but either way, they called her like a racist. Maybe she was obnoxious for like yelling, sure, but like just it's insane how things work.
Yeah. So no, I don't back away from anything I said.
Well, hey, what's up, guys? Obviously, I'm Destiny. Stephen Bunnell. This is my good friend, colleague. I don't even know what to call you, honestly. I mean, you guys all know I'm from the Young Turks. Cenk Uygur. Yeah, how you doing today?
Friend.
I'm good, brother. How you doing?
Pretty good. I'm so curious. What was like the impetus for this conversation? Like, what do they tell you? What are we gearing up for here?
So I hear that you are evil and need to be defeated. Okay. No, Brianna Wu runs Rebellion PAC, and that's the PAC that I started, and that's to get money to progressives so they could beat establishment Democrats and ultimately, most importantly, beat Republicans. And so it was her suggestion, and I was like, okay, sure, let's do it.
Okay.
Gotcha. All right. Well, I guess I'll start. Are you familiar at all with anything that I do, or have you heard about any of my internet presence or anything?
He has to be somewhat familiar.
Yes, but
I know that my nephew does not like you. My nephew used to talk about you years ago when you guys used to be really good friends. He talks about, he's like, you know, this guy, he's making me question myself. I like this guy's attractive. That's what Hassan used to say about Destiny. And then sadly, they didn't work out. Sad stuff.
I learned the hard way never to trust anything on the internet.
Okay, good starting place. Okay. So basically,
So, Stephen, I'll just say, look, I know that some people say, oh, don't platform X, don't platform Y, don't go on here, don't go on there. Did you know what he said back when he was 17 or 37? And yeah, no, I don't care about any of that. Okay, so we're going to have this discussion.
17
and so
or
if you've got something particularly terrible thing to say, or
what did Cenk say when he was 37? Now I'm just confused. I'm like, why 17 or 37? Is that a self-report?
We'll correct each other. Okay, so God bless. And I hear
God bless.
What do I hear about you? I hear you're an establishment.
He's a Papa Gun watcher.
Yes, proudly so. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Cool. I was just curious so that I know how to catch us all up. So the long and short of it is basically, I got into doing online politics around 2016 with the era of Trump, along with apparently the entire United States got into politics more in that time period than ever before.
Yeah, true.
When I first came on the scene, my whole political career was being as combative as possible, condescending, patronizing, and through that kind of like blood sports battling as like a left-leaning commentator, I kind of cut my teeth doing that for a while. Became
a debater,
kind of popular online doing online politics, and now I've kind of shifted away towards like how can I be more empathetic, understanding, and like really hone in on why do we disagree with people politically, and then what can I do to kind of push my message while still understanding, I guess, the concerns of the other side. Broadly speaking, that's what I do. But I try to actually do that, not like in a Dave Rubin centrist kind of way where you pretend to listen to both sides, but really you're just a conservative in disguise in every single sense of the word. Okay.
No, Stephen, I'll give you credit from the get-go that from the few things that I've seen, you appear to be an actual independent thinker. So you're not like the fake left for sure, and your opinions are so all over the place that you can't help but think that they're genuine. So
I'll take that as a compliment. I'm not entirely sure if it is a compliment to everybody, but sure.
Yeah, I totally agree. And by the way that I look at these, we call them debates, but I really, in my mind, I view them as discussions because there's plenty of things that I'm sure we'll agree on, right?
Sure.
And things that we'll disagree on, and that'll be fun too. And like I remember going to the debate club and the political union in undergrad, and I didn't want the debate club because I'm like, oh, we're debating cats or dogs. Well, you're just trying to prove who's more clever, right? Let's get the policy.
Yeah, that's the annoying part about a lot of debates is people are always trying to engage in like gotcha moments and stuff. That's why when I had my conversation with Kelly Cadigan on my other channel, link in the description, I was trying to just talk to her as a person and get to know her. She was coming from, even with some like not necessarily great things that she said before.
Let's figure out where we both stand and then let the audience decide.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, I agree. So one of the things that I kind of bring up when I'm making the rounds on, I got into a little fight with Alex Jones on a panel, I think a couple months ago. I've done Tim Pool's show a couple times. One of the questions that I'm starting to hone in on a lot when I talk to people is after you've said your spiel, you've said your piece, you've gone on your diatribe, your rant, you've explained your issues. What do you want people at home to do? One of the things I'm kind of looking at for a lot of political discourse is it feels like that the way that a lot of it is set up is from the very beginning to the very end, there's this air of hopelessness. On the conservative side, depending on how conservative you go, it's Jewish people controlling the Great Replacement, and immigration is getting rid of us, and everybody's controlling the state-run media, the swamp, et cetera, et cetera.
That's an interesting question. I like that. I mean, especially since, just in general, especially when it comes to different policies, and this is something I have a criticism for like Republicans on, is that they'll always say, we don't like this way that you want to do this, that, and the other thing. Well, we don't like what you want to do with healthcare. We don't like what you have to do with welfare. We don't like what you have to do with poverty. We don't like... But they don't really propose a counter solution. That's just kind of the conservative platform is mostly just like no, and then like LGBTQ bad, of course. But they're just like no to everything. But they have no solution of their own. And I feel like this kind of winds in or weaves into the similar thing because that's very true. It comes down. It's almost like it comes down to a bit of information of like, hey, here's a fact, but what do you want to do with that fact, kind of a thing. Because if you're just shouting and you're not giving people a direction, it's not unreasonable to say, like, if you're sitting here promoting a conspiracy theory that, like, whatever, like, Jewish people are trying to replace people or whatever, or create immigration to replace people, what do you want people to think? I mean, because if you're riling up enough people, that, to me, sounds like you want them to take action, like January 6th. So...
Which basically leaves their constituents with like, I mean, what do we have to do? January 6th, Buffalo shooter.
Yeah.
It's extremist rhetoric. All we can do is fight with weapons. That's the only thing we can do. And on the left, I kind of notice sometimes that depending on what we're talking about, and then I get this vibe kind of from the Young Turks that depending on what we're talking about, the rhetoric feels similar-ish. Giving you credit, I mean, you said explicitly multiple times, like, don't bring weapons to riots, don't bring weapons to protests. It's not a good idea. But sometimes when it feels like we get so down on everybody, even establishment Democrats, that it's like, geez, it feels like there's no hope. Like if Biden didn't pass something that the most progressive person in Congress wants, then it's a watered down bipartisan garbage bill that he gets no credit for. And then kind of, I guess the ground for this discussion, I guess, can be the recent debt ceiling negotiation. But I mean, we can talk about the infrastructure bill, the American Rescue Plan, whatever other thing. I guess what is your general feeling of that? Like, is there any part of you that's like, you know what? He might not be the most progressive president ever. I think he is, but he might not be the most progressive president ever. But at least Biden did this or this in terms of major legislation. Do you have that feeling, or?
So yes and no. But it's a great question to start on. So
I like Biden because he likes ice cream.
Look,
am I right?
if you come looking for hope, you've come to the right place.
Okay.
So I'm the king of hope.
I wonder if part of this is him like putting on like a little bit of a weird show to plug whatever he was talking about before, whatever pack he was doing, to try to like pull Destiny fans as voters. I wonder if that's the primary thing, because it just feels too agreeable. Like, it's good to be agreeable. It's not a bad thing to be, or rather, it's not bad to be agreeable. But sometimes it comes off as almost like a performative agreeableness. And maybe I'm just skeptical. Maybe I'm just getting old and I'm becoming a little bit of a poop boy or something. But part of it feels like that.
And I even wrote a poem called Hope. Okay, so
Wow.
and our
A
audience
poem
knows
called
I am
Hope.
intensely optimistic, and
That's
so
cool.
when I get
I'm
a
not.
sense of hopelessness, what I do is I try to fix it, and we do active things in the world, like we created Justice Democrats, we launched it on the Young Turks, we launched the improbable campaign of AOC, and nobody thought that was possible, and we did it. And then when we started Justice Democrats,
Ew, you
everybody
got
thought you'd be lucky to get
AOC?
one. Now we have
Bleh.
11 in Congress, right?
Bleh.
So I 100% believe in hope. Rokana was on the show today on the Young Turks talking about what we can do to fight forward. Okay. Now, in terms of the Biden, no, look, if you say, hey, is there things that he's done well? Oh, absolutely. So here are a laundry list of things I'll give him credit for. Getting out of Afghanistan. And I did not agree with corporate media. Oh, it was a mess. It was terrible. They always say that when we're ending a war. They never say it when we're starting a war, right? So, no, I'm thrilled that Biden got us out of Afghanistan. Did Trump start that process? He did. So what? Biden finished it, right? And he did it right away. The infrastructure bill is good in the long run. I have a giant asterisk on it, but I'll take it. Even the semiconductor bill.
I mean, if it's good in the long run, I feel like that's a really good thing. Aren't we tired of short-term policies that only make like a particular president look good in the moment? Where it seems like that's the whole point, is just to make the president look good. Oh, look at how good we're doing numbers-wise, right? Like when Trump did those tax cuts, those huge tax cuts that were unsustainable. We couldn't afford the amount of debt that I was going to put us into. It drastically increases our annual federal deficit. And people are like, oh my God, he's helping us. But he's not really. Like, he basically increased the annual federal deficit by like, I think $400 billion a year just to give people those tax cuts. Didn't help at all.
It's a giant giveaway to the semiconductor industry, but we do need a national semiconductor industry. So it's a complicated one. It's nuanced, right?
I don't even know what that is.
The COVID relief bill had some of the provisions that helped the average American the most out of any bill I've covered in like 20 years. Okay. Unfortunately, a lot of that already sunset and was obliterated later on. So I can go on and on, right? But in terms of, is Biden a progressive? Absolutely not. Has he done enough? Absolutely not. Okay.
Why?
And so it's not me being nihilistic to say
Well,
that.
what makes him not a progressive? Is it because he's like old? And you could argue. I mean, maybe you could argue that he's old and doesn't necessarily have these values himself, or maybe he's just politically changing, but he's still enacting, like, it seems to be like some of the change that people want to see. I mean, a lot of his presidency is really just going to be getting us out of like the COVID shit. I went on Instagram and it was like, I was like, well, I did the biggest job growth in like out of any president in the past whatever years. And I'm sitting here, I'm like, yeah, because you really can't go down, after post COVID. It's still a good thing. I'm just saying, like, you can't really go down. You can go down on me, Joey boy. I'll go down on you. No, I won't do that. Too old. Anyway, whatever. Let's move on.
I credit where credit is due, and then discredit where discredit is due. So, for example, and I can give you many, but let's start here. So, Stephen, he said like $15 minimum wage was like bare minimum. Oh, of course we were going to get that. I remember when he got into office, and I told legislators, I said,
yeah, I'm not a big 15-hour minimum wage guy, and I haven't talked about this in any detail in like a while, but I'm more of like a UBI guy or a negative income tax guy. What I think it's great for people to get more, obviously, get more financial wealth. They should get more money from the labor that they provide. But I feel like we're the place that we're at right now, when it comes to 15-hour minimum wage, my biggest apprehension I have, or the biggest issue I potentially have with it, is that if we implemented that, I think that we would have a problem in that the bigger businesses like your McDonald's and even your Walmarts and all these other things that utilize very low skilled labor, they'll push faster towards automation, and those jobs are just going to disappear. And those small businesses, though, that can't afford the automation right now, what are they going to do? They're pretty much just not going to be able to compete. And so I feel like it's just going to lead to greater unemployment in those areas, and it doesn't fix the long-term problem of technology replacing jobs and driving down wages. That's why I've been like a big, like some kind of a UBI advocate for a while. I think, and UBI, at least like Andrew Yang's version, is $1,000 a month to everybody, tax-free money. That's a whole conversation I'd have to have. Maybe I can find somebody to have a conversation and debate that with me. But overall, looking at the information, if you go look up Andrew Yang's policy, it does seem to be a pretty solid idea. People aren't just going to quit their jobs because they obviously need more than just that to live on. it would increase inflation, but overall people would still be making more money and they'd have like a better quality of life. And the biggest thing is that it would incentivize small businesses. First of all, if you're a small business owner, you're now getting an income, which is something that's usually unheard of for like the first 5 years of owning a small business. But then also people are more incentivized to work for your job. They don't, you can pay them minimum wage and they're still going to be able to get a livable income. And so that's something that I actually appreciate quite a bit from a universal basic income that I like a lot. I think it would be an overall good, and it wouldn't come with those negatives of pushing to automation even faster, because you're effectively taxing that automation and you're trying to do it to create jobs for people. So I like that a little bit more. That might not be something super practical to implement right now. People probably aren't really on board with the idea. I certainly am. It would mean so much more money in Twitch sub. No, I don't use Twitch. Well, what do you think about inflation? I feel like minimum wage increase will be canceled out by inflation. I don't think it'll be canceled out by inflation. I think that that's one of the things is inflation does happen. Inflation isn't like it. Just because inflation happens doesn't mean that it cancels out the increased amount of money. It could, but it doesn't mean that. I think a lot of people will get very upset. The people will get very upset when there's potential inflation because workers get paid more money. But nobody seems to care when corporations make massive profits. You know what I mean? It's so, even though that is a cause of inflation, right? Corporations making tons of like a massive amount of profits, they have to charge more to make those profits, and that's a factor that's a factor of inflation. So when it comes to those corporations doing that, we kind of just go like, oh, that's just how things happen. We just go, that is just what it is. But when it comes to the workers asking for more money, all of a sudden it's like, oh, well the inflation is going to be so horrible. And it's like, well, I find it very interesting that we care so much about inflation when it comes to average Americans just trying to live their lives. But when it comes to corporations making billions of dollars a year, that's just, we're like, okay with it. We're like, oh, okay. It seems like our brains aren't really in the correct zone for that one.
People on air, our audience, etc., they're not going to do it. And everybody was incredulous. No, he promised that 8 weeks to Sunday. He's definitely going to do it. And what did he do? He had his 2 Delaware senators that are his top allies in the Senate vote against it. He came out.
Yeah, for UBI, UBI would replace our current welfare systems as well. You wouldn't have, if you were on a current welfare system, you could choose to stay on it, or you can do UBI. But that's one of the ways that we replace the money. And I like that idea because I think our current welfare structure is kind of messed up. If you live, especially in a very poor area without a lot of opportunity, and you get on welfare, you have very little incentive to get off of it because you probably won't make as much money as you were. And if you could lose your job very easily, it can be very difficult to get back onto it. Meanwhile, if you just got like unconditional money, you have more incentive to be like, oh, I can get a job because I'm just making more money. I don't have to worry about losing my benefits. And I feel like it's a better idea for people to do. I think it really would. Plus, it would invest tons of money into especially poor communities because they have all these people going on. They have people getting paid. They have more money going through their infrastructure. You would see more supermarkets open up, more ways for people to deal with problems like food deserts. There's a lot of different positives to this situation. And I'm very much in belief of the unconditional monies because I feel like sometimes we try so hard to micromanage that we almost implement so many systems to micromanage our money that things just go in reverse. So would everybody use the money perfectly? Probably not. Of course not. But at the end of the day, it does not burden down with 100 different government. I think there's like 106 or something different types of welfare programs in the United States. So many micromanaged things, so many middlemen that I would say that a lot of the money that we as taxpayers dole out to people that need the money go to middle ground bullshit. And it's like, it'd probably be cheaper, more bang for your buck in general. So
spoke during the Super Bowl interview against it. He was never going to do it. He was lying all along. He's been a conservative on economic issues for 50 straight years. And I can go down a laundry list of things he was never going to do. Paid family leave, public option. He promised public option 1,000 times. Never once proposed it. Never once even talked about it.
Sure.
Because he was lying.
Okay, so this is, okay, I want to hone in on this. So firstly, I love everything you said in the beginning, okay? And I might repeat this line a lot. I feel like sometimes when I get people in front of me and we chat, their takes become very, very, very reasonable. But in going over the videos for this conversation, the things I'm hearing...
Interesting. Oh, damn. This is kind of a harsh call. I know what he's saying. What he's saying is that people know how to censor themselves to make their takes that might be kind of extreme seem more reasonable when they talk to Destiny. But I saw that he had a video that was looking over some of Cenk Uygur's takes. I didn't watch it. But I'm assuming he's talking about that. Wasn't that like he's really Cenk might be playing to what we consider what the optics of the situation? Is that kind of what we're at? What did I just do?
Like in regards to the debt ceiling, I was like, there are no wins for Democrat, none, zero. Biden hates the middle class. Well, sure, the Democrats and the Republicans are on the same goddamn team. Democrats just give McCarthy gift after gift after gift after gift. Do you really think that like a Republican administration would more or less do the same thing as like a Democratic administration or a Democrat administration?
So with an asterisk, yes. So like, for example,
missed that question a little bit.
Do you really think that like a Republican administration would more or less do the same thing as like a Democratic administration or a Democrat administration?
Like Biden?
So with an asterisk, yes. So like.
So
for example, they did the
yes, but they would do it differently, right? Like with the asterisks. I don't know, man. That's a yes to me or no to
IRS funding the IRS $80 billion over 10 years. That was the one. And by the way,
that was a great idea.
Watch our clips on Afghanistan, on the infrastructure bill, and all of these. I haven't changed my position 1%. So,
yeah, that's a great. Honestly, I think it was a great idea that Biden increase more money into the IRS. I mean, he did it so that they would collect more taxes from people making over like $400,000 a year or households that made that much money. There's nothing wrong with that. I don't see that as a problem. It's so like one of the biggest things that I have a problem with is that our government is very ineffective when it comes to trying to get big corporations to be held more accountable for, you know, their shit with their dodging of taxes. And at least funding the IRS more gives us the ability to more accept or more easily collect those taxes. So I'm fundamentally okay with that. Now, is it working? I don't really know too much. I haven't been super into politics, but it's still a good idea overall. I think it's an excellent idea.
So what I say on air, the encourage is what I'm saying here.
Yeah.
So and by the way, the reason you might notice me being more vitriolic is because those are the videos that get more attention, right?
Sure. Yeah.
And
well, that's why would you admit that, bro? Why would you do that? Oh, how bad. You that's not good. I feel like I understand people clickbaiting and stuff and being more like hateful and vitriolic. I mean, that's what vitriolic effectively means. So I get it to drive up views, but when you tell people that that's what you're doing, it comes off as like super disingenuous. Like, who wants to hear like, yeah, I act like a fucking asshole for money? Like, that's what because that's what's being communicated. I sensationalize things for money. I need to keep up my alternative media source infrastructure, and so I have no problem sensationalizing and riling people up over these topics because I need to make money. That's what he's telling you. Why would you tell people that? I understand like it's somewhat normalized, but Jesus Christ. Like, I just feel like that's such a bad idea to say something like that. It just comes off as so dishonest. Oh my God.
But I also mean those 200%. So yes, the IRS bill was good. And that was a bill that the Republicans definitely would not have done. And I said, okay, look, give the Democratic Party credit there. There's a slight difference, even on economic issues. Okay. So, okay. Now, having said that, the rest of it has been a disaster. So the debt ceiling, there was one tiny thing we got, and God bless. Okay, we got the exemption for homeless and veterans on SNAP. Okay, but
don't we have to raise the debt ceiling or else we're fucked? Like, is that even a question at that point?
The other 8 things were all for Republicans. We got nothing back. We didn't need to do it at all. And I think, and this is the part that's probably going to really bother you, I think that Biden wanted to do all those things. So when Obama was president, they invent this thing about, we're going to now negotiate the debt ceiling. Okay, it's a Republican ploy, but Obama and Biden love going along with those ploys. They love it. They could easily just go 14th Amendment. I'm done with it. Oh, by the way, if you'd like to wreck the world economy, that is going to be one.
Is that what it is, or is like, and I guess I don't really know, but. Or is it more that like they just want to get stuff passed, so they're willing to work across the aisle? I mean, you could argue Republicans don't seem to be interested in returning that favor compared to Democrats, so that's not a bad. But I guess that wouldn't be a big argument. But at the end of the day, don't you have to work across the aisle in order to implement stuff sometimes? Isn't that how things used to function really well? And we've gotten to this crazy spot where we don't do that anymore. It's one of the biggest problems that we have.
100% on you, okay?
Well,
instead, when he gets into a negotiation, it becomes 50% on him. And then in that negotiation, he gets almost nothing and gets slaughtered on everything else.
Okay, so let's hone in on this a little bit. Okay, so Biden has largely gotten to pass a lot of major legislation, right? We had the infrastructure bill, we had the American Rescue Plan, like huge ticket things, and our budget has been insanely huge. On our discretionary spending, we're talking like $1.4, $1.5 trillion over and over and over again. With the debt ceiling approaching, and with the Republicans taking the House, I'm pretty sure every single political analyst thought the Democrats are going to have to give a lot when it came time to negotiate on the debt ceiling stuff. Now, Biden said he originally wasn't going to negotiate, but regardless of how we feel, like it's a Democratic president. If the United States defaulted on the debt, it would be catastrophic. Failures to negotiate the debt ceiling are always going to hurt the sitting president more than the Republican Party. We're not going to be able to blame House Republicans when Democrats have the Senate and the presidency. I feel like when we look at everything that was given, and I guess this is my problem when I listen to you guys talk about this, is I hear this like Republicans got everything they want. We just gave and gave and gave and gave. The difference between the House bill that McCarthy passed versus what was final.
The smoke is even worse. Holy fuck, the smoke is so bad. This is crazy outside with the fucking wildfires, dude.
Signed in the Senate. I felt like it was some of the, and I see everybody else say this. Krugman was saying this. The guys at Positive America was saying this. Even Ben Shapiro was admitting this, that the political maneuvering was pretty good. That like some of the stuff that was given up wasn't really a give up at all. So for instance, a lot of people complain about work requirements on SNAP. So work requirements were increased from 49 years of age to 54 years of age. But because of the wide exemption that was given for veterans and homeless people, I think the Congressional Budget Office, which is nonpartisan, their guesstimate was that the outlays in that program are actually going to increase. We're going to spend more money on that program than we were before. Because if you look at the unemployment in that age bracket, it's like 2.5%. Like most people are working in this age bracket. It's not like they're having trouble finding jobs or anything. And there's a lot of exemptions made for like people in people with children, people from orphanages, people with mental illness. There's a lot of exemptions made for that.
$6.42.
What is happening?
Destiny isn't playing video games for once because he's talking to an adult.
Maybe. I can't show you or it'll mess everything up. What happened to my thing? Did my stream crash for a second? That was wild. Did you guys miss everything that was just happening? They were just talking about how they conceded on like raising, I guess, the minimum age or something, or like the age of having to work and get welfare or something, but it's going to be paying more. This is fucking wild.
That's like one example. And there's like example after example after example of like the gives that we made were just not a big deal. And a lot of the important stuff like Social Security, Medicaid, repeals of the student loan debt, none of this got through on the Republican side.
Oh, okay, cool.
So when I see that like the things that we did give were things that were either coming anyway. So for instance, like the
yeah, when it comes to student loan debt, I think it's cool that there's some forgiveness, although it hasn't been implemented yet. I think because it's still getting blocked in some capacity, or it's getting sued. The Republicans are suing. You didn't miss anything good. But I think my biggest issue with that really is that there's no long-term plan for it. Like, it's not like Biden saying, hey, we're going to reduce student loan debt. That's cool, but we're also going to make it so student loan debt doesn't happen in the same way because we're going to, either educate kids on, I don't know, do something. So for me, I mean, these schools charge so much money. It's because they get a lot of breaks from the government. The government does a lot of subsidies for it. So maybe if they just tried to get those costs in line, saying like, you can do whatever, you can charge however much you want to these schools. But if you charge too much out of line in a particular area, most of it's an administrative cost, which don't do a lot for the student or the teacher experience, then I would just say, okay, we're not going to give you a subsidy. So it would force them to basically reduce the amount of money that they're charging, or else they wouldn't get government subsidies and they wouldn't be able to succeed. That's a better thing. Instead of just saying like, hey guys, we're just going to make everything kind of like, we're just going to give you money back, because it's just going to keep the cycle isn't going to be ruined from that. We're going to continue the cycle of people going into student loan debt irresponsibly. And part of that is because they push college too much and not like trade schools enough. They want you to go to college regardless. You have to go to college. You'll be unsuccessful. And college can be a very good thing, of course. But, maybe more trade school focus. But if we don't deal with that particular problem, I don't see how we're not really going to overall deal with the problem in general. That's my biggest, apprehensiveness there.
Like the student aid, the interest on the student loan starting to, I guess, tick back again to repayment starting at the end of summer. This was already going to happen, and we gave that. But we didn't really lose anything. You look at like the SNAP stuff. You look at the IRS. We fought for $80 billion in increased funding. We gave $20 billion back for now. I feel like that was a major win for Biden in that we moved past the debt ceiling thing for 2 years. The 2-year thing, by the way, guys. The House bill was worlds apart. They wanted a 10-year cap on spending, and we got that down to 2. And then the budgets that we got was like $700 billion versus the $550 they were asking for in the House for 2024 fiscal year 2025. That all of this seems like pretty decent stuff. Again, I understand that we didn't like fight for anything, we didn't get anything, but considering it was a House majority for Republicans, and considering people thought we were going to lose a lot more, I don't understand why there's not just like a little bit to be happy about there.
No, nothing, zero. Okay, so let me explain.
Okay.
All right, so if I'm listening, before we hear Cenk, it sounds like Biden got a decent more than he thought he was going to get. He did a decent job, I guess. But it's nothing to really sensationalize because he didn't get like an epic victory royale. So since it didn't look like he got a whole lot because he didn't concede as much as people thought he'd have to. But since he didn't get anything necessarily out of that, we don't give him credit for it, I guess. Why? Like, it just sounds boring. It sounds like Biden got a boring win, and I think that's phenomenal because what's the biggest issues that I think Destiny mentioned that people got into politics in 2016. I did too because Trump was so fucking crazy you know, and like people like were like, hey, this is nuts, and people with like common sense were able to shine through, and there's nothing particularly intelligent about me. I just have like common sense, and I was able to like get some views and some traction on TikTok because of it. But what we need to go back to is boring. We need to go back to boring politics. It shouldn't be interesting. It shouldn't be like a celebrity, thing. It should be boring. That's what we need. Biden got the win we need. A boring win. It's an incredible thing. Why we should take that more like as a positive, no?
So, look, brother, when you say political analysts expected that it would be worse, well, first of all, that's corporate media, and corporate media always thinks the country is center right. That the Republicans are right on the debt and deficit. I mean, they're clowns.
Bro, listen, there is a lot to criticize when it comes to mainstream media, of course, whether it's Fox News or CNN or anything, because they tend to sensationalize the fuck out of things. Absolutely, and I agree with that. But also, I think it's something to consider when you have like an alternative media source, which I believe the Young Turks is, telling you how horrible mainstream media is, because of course they're going to. Of course they're going to say that. You know what I mean? Oh, they're clowns. Listen to me. This guy just admitted that he likes to shout for more attention. And I get the game, but you're like, how are you any better if you're doing the same thing that they're doing? So how are you going to be like, oh, I'm better. I'm shouting for attention. That's sensationalizing things. That's the big problem. So I'm waiting for Muscle Pill's message to come through. What's going on, brother? I saw your Instagram before I came on live. You asked me why my shirt size is a 3X.
Muscle Pill super chatted $49.99. Papa gut for president. Make politics boring again.
That's what I'm saying, dude. But what's going on, brother? How have you been doing? And I saw your message about the shirt. I'm a 3XL tall if you have it. I'm assuming you want to send me like a shirt or something to wear. That sounds pretty cool. Like a brand thing, like whatever, man. What are you plugging? What is it you want to send? What do you want another shirt for? Let me get back to this. And you don't have to donate more money. Thank you so much for $50, my man. I'm not yawning because your donation was boring. It was very generous. I'm just yawning. I'm sorry.
Trump drove up the deficit by the debt by $7.8 trillion. Reagan, Bush, they all drive up deficits. Last Republican.
Sure, I think that's something to keep in mind. For a lot of people will hear that and go, yeah, it's COVID. It's not just COVID. Before COVID hit, Trump had increased the annual federal deficit, which is the amount of money that we're spending over the amount of money we're, the amount of money we're spending over the amount of money the amount of money we're spending over the amount of money we're pulling in. He increased that to, he went from, about $650 billion. He inherited that from Obama to about $1 trillion because of his tax cuts. COVID was just a convenient excuse. Of course, it's going to go up from there. And I don't blame him for the increase in COVID. But even before that, he was very fiscally irresponsible. The tax cuts were really bad. They were very long-term for rich people and very short-term for the rest of us.
President to balance the budget was Dwight Eisenhower. Okay, but what does corporate media always tell you? Oh, the Republicans care about the debt. They care about the deficit. No. It's a lie. Lie. Okay, so when they say, but Biden has to give everything to the Republicans. Oh, he didn't give them everything. He gave them only 89%. Oh, what a champion!
Well, it sounded like he gave them a lot less than 89%. He just got a boring but solidly good deal. Also, like, fundamentally, as crazy as a lot of Republicans are, especially when it comes to like LGBTQ policies, they are still people, and the political system works when you compromise. So I'm okay with Biden compromising. I don't see it as like a big negative here. But okay.
Yeah, corporate politicians are happy, corporate Democrats are happy, corporate Republicans are happy, corporate media is happy. So that's not an argument at all, in my opinion. Okay, so you have to look at the actual policy, right? So what actually happened there? Well, are you right that the Republicans threatened to punch us in the face about 100 times? Yes. So, but when we get punched in the face 80 times, and then we get one thing back, that's the one that I mentioned on Snap, that's not a win. You got punched in the face 80 times. And Stephen, we didn't need it at all. The 14th Amendment is crystal clear. It says our debt shall not be questioned. It's one of the clearest amendments there is. The only reason you even enter the negotiations is if you want to give things away. And so I'll give you two of the specific examples that you mentioned, okay? So, for example, on work...
I guess I'm not too educated on the debt, but don't we consistently have conversations about like the debt ceiling? Isn't this something that happens like every so often and under every presidency? They debate and argue about like what's going on. Like during Trump, I think, and I could be sketchy on this, didn't like people just not go to work for like 3 months because they didn't come to the agreements on how they were going to operate that? So when he says this, I mean, I just feel like from what I know, it seems like you have to negotiate for like how you're going to spend your money. So he still had to come to the table, no? Like, he seems a little unreasonable, but maybe I'm just not politically educated enough. Why the spider's so tanky?
And corporate media always moves the goalpost, okay? On worker requirements, first they came, there's, oh, the Democrats said no way. And corporate media says, Democrats say no way, they're going to stand strong. Hakeem Jeffries puts out a strong statement. Oh, we will not bend on that. And then when they collapse, complete, utter collapse, right? And then, again, God bless, at least we got the veterans and the homeless, okay? But they collapse on the work requirements that they said they would not budge on. Then corporate media goes, what a wonderful bipartisan compromise. It's a good thing we have work requirements. Wait, what the hell happened? Okay, I covered when you said X.
That's fucking crazy.
Now I'm covering when you say Y, and those things are not at all the same. On student debt, classic trick. So what did he give? He gave the Republicans ending the moratorium in September, so you're gonna have to start paying interest again on your loans. Okay, but they said, all right, but we're not gonna take away the student debt forgiveness. He knows the Supreme Court's gonna strike that down in 2 weeks. Biden knows that, so that way he gets to give away the store and then go, the favorite thing of corporate Democrats. There was nothing we could do. There was nothing we could do. Oh, the Supreme Court, golly gee.
What the fuck is the matter with this guy? Like, okay, I get what he's saying. He's saying that apparently in September we're going to have to start paying interest on student loans or whatever again. Okay, so we'll have to start paying our student loans. Okay, fine. But what the fuck is he talking about? And then I get what else he's saying, where maybe they'll strike it down the Supreme Court. I don't think that I agree that Biden's like looking forward to that strike down and he wants it. But what's up with the singing and the dancing? I feel like is this like a character? What's happening? Does this appeal to the young kids or something? I don't really get it.
Did they end my student debt relief program? The one thing that was going to help young people? Oops, I did it again. So no, not buying it.
Is this like relatable to him? Oops, I did it again. That's Britney Spears. She's like 40 now. Like, damn, that's wild, brother. Who resonates? Who does this resonate with? Damn. Okay. Incredible stuff. God bless.
Okay, so
gobbles.
Firstly, okay, this is a huge rep I have sometimes with progressives. I think we have to stop relying on these like Hail Mary legal arguments that we think or hope are going to bail us out of having to do any sort of legislative compromise. The idea that the 14th Amendment is crystal clear, that we both know that is absolutely not true. One of us might think that, and some people might think that, but that is a hotly contested thing. Not only is it hotly contested, it would be so contested that if we were to go that 14th Amendment route, there was a chance that the legal challenges would extend that past the expiration date of our debt. And if we default on our debt while we're trying to play complicated legal battles on whether or not the 14th Amendment allows us to just pay the debt with absolutely no negotiation with Congress required, that could potentially be like, I don't think I need to explain how disastrous it would be for the United States to default on its debt while we play this political football back and forth with the debt. So I don't buy that the 14th Amendment was such an easy way out, number one. Number two, as much as we hate it, well, I don't hate it. I mean, it's part of how our system works. Bipartisan is not the enemy. Bipartisan is not evil. If you don't have majorities or supermajorities in both of your houses, bipartisan is the way that you have to go. Even you mentioned that $15 an hour minimum wage hike earlier. That $15 an hour minimum wage thing in the Senate, that was opposed by 8 Democrats. And that's when you're only winning by a vice president tiebreaker vote. Like, there's no way that you can get through anything that is going to help the American people if you're not looking to be bipartisan in some way. You brought up the moratorium on student debt. That moratorium was expiring anyway. Student debt was always going to be, the interest payments were always coming back on the table at the end of summer. That was a freebie, a literal freebie. Republicans got nothing there. And then when you talk about the Supreme Court striking down student debt forgiveness, that's the $10,000 to $20,000 that Biden is trying to strike down. But the $42 billion that he's already forgiven for a lot of public workers, people working in healthcare, people that have like employment jobs by the federal government, that $42 billion that has been forgiven for young people, that's done. That's a done deal. Republicans didn't claw any of it back. The Supreme Court can't take any of that back. The only thing that they're fighting over now in the Supreme Court is going to be that $10,000 to $20,000 forgiveness per person afterwards. Again, I agree that like there were some things that like the $20 billion, I like the IRS, okay? Clawing back, and it's the only fucking organization in the government that actually makes money, okay? So that's the dumbest thing to take away money from. But only losing $20 billion out of the $80 billion that we funded for it, that's probably the biggest punch in the face that I can see. And then maybe the spending caps. But man, originally McCarthy wanted all $80 billion back. Originally McCarthy wanted those caps at $540 billion, and we got that up to $711 billion. There were some punches, but I don't think it was like 89% punches in the face. I think it was like 15% punches in the face.
Okay, so let me address those one by one. I'm going to read you the 14th Amendment here. Okay. The validity of the public debt of the United States authorized by law shall not be questioned.
All right, so Destiny's point there was like, hey, maybe that law protects it, but we don't have time to be debating and bringing this to the Supreme Court when it could also be turned down. Like, here's what I know. We're constantly debating the debt ceiling. Now, if apparently our fucking whatever, our the Constitution or whatever says we shouldn't have to do that, okay. I mean, interesting, but we're doing it. And I think Destiny's point is that if we lock ourselves up and we end up locking ourselves up into this debate in the Supreme Court and we default on our debts, we're fucked. So that makes pragmatic sense to me. Even if Mr. Uygur is correct, it's not practical. And so there would need to be a different way to go about this.
Okay. So you called it a Hail Mary. If that's not clear enough, then words have no meaning. Okay. So, and not only that, Stephen, first of all, you don't have to do anything.
Stephen.
You just simply keep doing what you're doing, let the Republicans, and say you're using the 14th Amendment, our debt shall not be questioned. The Republicans go to court, okay? If they want to, go ahead, go for it. Try to destroy the 14th Amendment, try to destroy the economy. Now you 100% own it because you went to court to try to destroy the economy, okay? You go to court, that puts the conservative Supreme Court in a very tough position, okay? Because they either have to say, okay, the Democrats are obviously right, plain reading of the language, the original meaning, every conservative legal principle they have ever said. Or they have to say, okay, we're just partisan hacks, which I grant you that they might, and we don't care anything that we ever said before, but now we're burning our original meaning and plain reading of the text, our two of the pillars of conservative legal principles, we're burning it to the ground. Because this is super clear, and we're just going to lie about it. Okay. Okay. So that is not a.
So it sounds like what happens is that we potentially get locked into like a win, like, oh, we won. See, the Republicans don't care, but then we defaulted, and our country's fucked. Because I'm pretty sure that's what happens if we don't raise the debt ceiling. You know, that's what it sounds like to me. I guess I don't really know, but
we have a massively winning case, and in fact, we win either direction. There.
Okay.
And if you care just about politics, and the Republicans own destroying the economy, that's a disaster for them. Now, I care that we don't actually destroy the economy, right? And of course, defaulting on the debt is a terrible thing. But Stephen, this is another core disagreement, I think, because
Cenk,
I think the politicians are completely controlled by their donors, and I think every piece of legislation shows that. So the Republicans were never actually going to default, because their donors would have been livid. Their donors are the richest people in the country. They need that stock market healthy and vibrant.
They would. I mean, this actually might be a decent argument, but that's maybe he's right. It just seems like a really big risk or gamble to operate with. But I guess that does make sense.
Cut those guys' throats if they had actually defaulted on debt ceiling. The trick is we pretend we're going to cut it. And those are the bad cops, and then the good cops come, and Democrats go, "Oh God, well, golly, gee, I wish there was something that we could do, but there's nothing we could do." Hey, our donors are happy too. Oh, that's amazing. Okay, what a win for everyone. And two policy things that you mentioned there. One is when you talk about the IRS. So we both agreed that was a good bill that the Democrats passed. Now they're giving back a quarter of it to 20%, to $20 billion. Why doesn't Biden ever fight back rhetorically? Why doesn't he say, "Hey, wait a minute, I thought we were reducing the deficit"? Taking away $20 billion from the IRS actually increases the deficit by approximately $120 billion. Because every nonpartisan organization that's looked at it says $1 spent at the IRS brings you $6 back in revenue for the government. So why doesn't he do a press conference my Republican friends, and he loves them, he always calls them his Republican friends. My Republican friends, I thought they cared about the debt. It turns out they want to destroy the debt in order to protect the rich. Because this is targeted at people making over $400,000.
I mean, if you're going to go with this optics argument, because that's what they're going with, from like an optics perspective, like most American people, even if they might be wrong about it, are just going to look at that and go like, oh, like you're getting that revenue through collecting it through me, fuck you. So I don't think that, I mean, like, it makes perfect sense. The people getting taxed are the rich people, but I mean, if you're going to go from that optics argument, I think he loses. If you're trying to do like an appeal to people, like, see, they don't care about the debt, they want to blah blah blah. Most Americans will probably be like, oh, but that's more taxes money that you're collecting, even if it doesn't target them. People can be kind of stupid. So just on that argument, which seems to be where he's operating from, I could see why maybe that wouldn't be the best argument. Well,
they want to pile on debt just to protect the rich. I won't have it. I'm going to fight for you. And he never does that because he doesn't believe that. And last thing on this, PAYGO on the executive side. We've talked about like 8 different things to give away.
It's a lot of assumptions that he just doesn't care. I don't know. I don't know if I agree with that. I mean, this is the problem, that Biden loves ice cream, bro. So he obviously cares about the American people. He cares about the Americans. What are you talking about, dude? I love ice cream too. So much so that I'm dying.
One of them is PAYGO. And that means that if you do any executive action, they weren't going to pass any bills anyway, but if you do any executive action, the only thing he's got left for the next 2 years, now you have to take away something if you're ever going to spend money on anything. But that basically neuters the White House, the executive branch. Well, now, why did Biden throw that in? Because he wants to be neutered. That takes the pressure off. Then I could just run for president. You only care about myself. I wasn't going to do anything in the next 2 years anyway. And it's nice and convenient for him. So Biden wins, the Republicans win, corporate media wins, we all get screwed.
Oh, maybe.
Okay, so something we're going to understand around this is like Biden wants this and the Democrats want this. I guess running through a couple of these, amendments are never as clear as like the words have crystal clear meaning, right? Like how many times have we fought over the wording of the Second Amendment? The right to bear arms shall not be infringed. What does it mean to have a well-regulated militia? What do the commas mean? How many times have we seen videos of like sovereign citizens quoting articles of independence and everything?
God. I fucking hate sovereign citizens more than anything else in the entire world. They are losers. I don't know if you guys have seen this, but there's this thing, and it seems to happen mostly in like Florida for some reason. I see these TikToks of sovereign citizens, and what they do is they say they don't need to like follow any rules because they're sovereign citizens. They don't need a license plate, blah, blah, blah. I don't know the specifics. I guess they're trying to play on some bullshit technicality, but they're the most obnoxiously stupid and annoying people in the entire world. I don't like them.
The idea that like, well, the words are crystal clear, especially after we've just gotten out of a very, very, very complicated battle relating to Roe v. Wade and whether or not substantive due process or implied rights are even a real thing. I think it's very cautious, or I think we should proceed with caution when we say something like, oh yeah, like the wording on this particular part of the Constitution is very clear. Therefore, we have no debt ceiling anymore. Especially when we're doing such a massive divergence, what's already kind of been set as like a political norm. Not to say that that battle can't be won, but like if on one end we've got, okay, well, we can negotiate a little bit with the Republicans. They won the House anyway, and for the most part, we don't take too many big hits. Or on the other hand, we could gamble with the future of the world, but maybe you're going to win. That just seems like such a clear-cut alternative. Like, probably just go with a negotiated position rather than one, hoping that we win in court, or two, hoping that if we lose in court, the sitting president isn't blamed and the Republicans get blamed, which I don't even know if that helps us anyway, because it's not like the composition of the Supreme Court is going to change. And now all we've got is a country that can blame the Republicans for the fact that we've destroyed the world economy. It reminds me of the, there's like a, I think it's like
But then we can restart the system and do a communism, bro. That's the true ending. That's the true ending. There's that. So I'm a communist myself. I'm not a communist. People are fucking psychos, bro. Not psychos. They're just usually young and silly gooses. They're like these young little silly guys. So they're cool. They're all right. They're okay.
People are sitting in a post-apocalyptic wasteland and they're like, man, we destroyed the whole world, but we sure did create some good short-term value for our shareholders for a brief period of time or whatever. It's like, yeah, I don't know if that's the kind of battle we want to be getting into. I mean, I understand the arguments for it, but man, in terms of like, why doesn't Biden fight back? This gets into kind of like, oh, well, you know, political theory and what are people doing? But like my interpretation of it, and I think quite a few people have had this interpretation, is that this was such an astoundingly good deal for Democrats, considering how bad it could have gone, that it's better to just shut up and let McCarthy and McConnell go out and say, oh, well, we're very proud to vote for this, and let them have their win when we're not really giving much at all, so that McCarthy's position in the House isn't threatened. And
yeah, I mean, it sounds like what we're saying is let those guys have their ego boost, and while we get an actual win. That's cool. That sounds nice. I mean, I'm fine with that. It seems like it's good for the old American peoples. That's what I care about. So okay.
And so the Republicans aren't in an uproar that they weren't able to attack any of the entitlement programs, any of our big non-discretionary spending stuff, like they've really wanted to do. Republicans have been gunning for things like Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid. Republicans have been bloodthirsty to get rid of all of the student loan forgiveness, to claw that back completely. Republicans have been hungry to make huge cuts in the Inflation Reduction Act. They wanted to get rid of all the tax credits, all those green energy tax credits. McCarthy in the House bill got rid of every single thing. And again, the things that we gave were not that significant. You mentioned PAYGO, for instance. First of all, in October of 2019, Trump already had enacted PAYGO for the executive branch via executive order. Number one. And number two, the PAYGO that was enacted, one, it sunsets at the end of 2024, so it's not that big of a deal. And two, the most important part... What? He might not do anything anyway, but regardless, number two, the PAYGO requirements for the executive branch are exempt from judicial review. Line 17, 18, 19, no determination, finding, action, or omission under this title shall be subject to judicial review. So basically, Biden can say, listen, I'm doing this on EO because I have good reasons, trust me, and it's not like anybody can review it anyway. So again, I feel like this is one of those things where it's like, we gave it, and then some people, like you guys, the Young Turks, and other people are like, oh my God, this is a horrible thing the Democrats gave. But I think the reason why Biden and the Democrats are being quiet is like, okay, listen, yeah, guys, the Republicans sure did win here, but at the end of the day, really all we lost was like the $20 billion over the next 3 years, I guess, for the IRS. And for the most part, I don't think anything else really mattered that much. Then you can respond to anything that I do. And then it's just like kind of my broader thing. You keep saying this thing where it's like Biden wants to do nothing. The Democrats don't want to do anything. All their corporate donors own them. Do we really feel that way? And then you can respond to anything you want. Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, so look,
I think that's like the biggest issue, assuming that Biden is like this bad guy that doesn't want to enact some form of like change. He just constantly keeps asserting this over and over again, which I find a little silly.
We haven't even discussed a bunch of the things they gave away, like the $30 billion in COVID relief bill. Now, you could say they weren't going to spend it, but I would say, well, then why not? They should have spent it. They should have spent it helping the average American. We passed that. It was a rare good thing that we passed. For God's sake, get it to the average American. So we gave away $30 billion there, $20 billion to the IRS, on and it goes. But Stephen, the larger point is, If you allow the Republicans to keep taking hostages, they will take hostages to the end of time. So someone has.
But is it taking a hostage, or is it just like a compromise? I mean, at the end of the day, as flawed as our political system is, people will elect representatives to represent them. And so those representatives are there to work with other American people that represent different people and come to a compromise that is hopefully to some extent good for everybody. That's the ideal goal. Is it work perfectly practiced? No. But when it comes to compromising, that's the point. So I don't see it as this like really big loss to compromise with conservatives, because I don't think conservatives are my enemy. I disagree with them. I'm full on stuff. Jesus Christ. But okay.
Be strong enough, like LBJ on economic issues, FDR, and say, hey, I'm drawing the line, okay? If you don't ever draw the line, every time the Republicans are in office, like Trump, they never talk about the debt ceiling. In fact, we talked about it today on the Young Turks. Steve Bannon was there the first time they raised the debt ceiling under Trump. Now he's like, oh, all the Republicans should be primaried if they voted for this thing. What are you guys talking about? You passed it without a single word, right? So why not pound them on that? Why not say Steve Bannon did it, Donald Trump did it, etc.? Biden doesn't want to fight back because he doesn't believe it. He doesn't believe it in his heart. If you put me in the ring, by the way, Stephen, probably if you put you in the ring, you'd fight back 10,000 times more. Why? Because you believe it. He does.
Cenk does he want to go to the ring? You want to go to the king of the ring? Is this like Cenk's subtle nod at him saying that he wants to be president? How practical is that, though? Who would vote for him, you think? I wonder. Very interesting. Okay.
Doesn't. He wants them to take those hostages. So, but it doesn't matter. Assume that he's a saint and he doesn't agree with the Republicans. And golly gee, he doesn't know how to use his mouth. He doesn't know how to fight back. But that principle, that idea
Sarah
that we just give the Republicans
$2. Poo gut is the remedy.
Thank you.
The gut will save us all.
Okay, thank you so much. I personally love poo-poo, so you know what? Maybe you're right. Maybe I am the remedy.
Accept loss after loss after loss and go, well, the losses could have been worse. Well, then every time a Democrat gets elected, instead of us winning, we're going to wind up losing. And that's exactly what's happening here. They're like, hey, don't worry, elect us. We'll get you voting rights. We'll get you minimum wage. We'll get you public option. We'll get you paid family. We'll get you all this stuff. And then you go, oh, no. When a Democrat's in charge, we obviously lose because the other side takes hostages and we immediately give in. And when you say, hey, isn't bipartisan a good thing? My answer to that is, fuck no. Okay. So it depends on what we're agreeing to. So bipartisan by itself doesn't mean anything. So if you say bipartisan agreement, for example, under Trump, even Gates and some of the other guys that were very right-wing came in and said, no, we have bipartisan agreement with the progressives that the president must come to authorize war through Congress.
He's got to come?
Well, I love that bipartisan agreement.
That's
the thing I agree on. When they have bipartisan agreement to take money from the average American and give it to the richest people in America, which is the bipartisan agreement that they reach 95% of the time, I hate that bipartisan agreement. To me, being bipartisan is not a value in and of itself. It's just a method to get to a policy that's either good or bad.
Yeah, is Diablo 4 worth supporting Blizzard? I do. I think so. I've actually been enjoying it pretty well. I'm not super high level. I'm only 44, but I've been enjoying it. It's pretty cool. So,
and the press and Biden, et cetera, celebrated because it's a head fake. It's a distraction. Oh, what we did was terrible, but don't worry. It's moderate. It's bipartisan. These code words that we have trained you to believe are positive.
Like superfruits, like blueberries.
Totally
yes, of course.
And so, and the last thing I'll say is, you mentioned a couple of times, hey, at least we didn't get Social Security, Medicare taken away, et cetera. Stephen, you got to acknowledge that's the lowest bar in history. Like
that's pretty low bar. That's fair.
The Democrats, the White House, the House and the Senate in the first 2 years. And now, okay,
like it is a low bar because we need those programs. But I mean, considering how aggressive it seems like conservatives are to take away those programs, I guess you could still argue like that we got something, where now it's like we're facing some crazy and we're not letting crazy win too much. I think that's more of the argument there, no? I would imagine.
We lost the House by a little bit, and now our bar is
stop moving away.
We didn't let the Republicans mutilate Social Security and Medicare. No, and plus you got to be honest. I don't mean you. I mean Biden and the Democrats. When you say one thing and then you get into office and you change your tune immediately, you go from "I'm going to do it on day one" to "Oh, it can't be done. There's no way it can be done." Oh, you're lucky I didn't bleed out even more while I was in charge.
Okay, so here, this should be a rule for every online political commentator. Okay, I hate it when people compare Biden to like JFK or Lyndon B. Johnson or any of these prior administrations without looking at the majorities that those guys had in their House and Senate. Biden is fighting for his life, okay? Not only literally, okay, this guy's very old, right? We saw him a few days ago. Biden is literally and metaphorically fighting for his life every single day he gets out and talks to Congress, okay? He is riding the thinnest majorities, okay, historically, that presidents have ever had. And then we're looking at this guy and it's like, really? You've got the vice president as a tiebreaker in the Senate, and you haven't given a single payer healthcare yet? You haven't completely dismantled the military industrial complex? We don't have 15 an hour minimum wage? Where are you doing, Mr. President? Biden is doing everything he can. And that's why I think that, as much as it triggers the hell out of some people, I think bipartisanship is an incredibly important step. I think that I'm going to do the progressive thing of like, diversity is good for diversity's sake. I think bipartisanship is good for bipartisan's sake, because a lot of the issues that we've had running our federal government over the past 20 years have literally been Congress does nothing, and we look to the president for executive actions. Even our big immigration policy like DACA came from Obama executive action, or we look to the Supreme Court for everything. All of our civil rights, all of our big civil right legislation, where is that? It doesn't exist. It's come from the Supreme Court. Gay marriage came from the Supreme Court. Roe v. Wade came from the Supreme Court.
And Biden did codify gay marriage, which I think is a win, considering that I never would have thought it, but Republicans were managed to make abortion illegal. Well, I understand it's state by state choice, but that is effectively, you understand what I'm saying. And they wanted to do the same thing with gay marriage, and thank God they fucking codified that, because Jesus Christ, man, it's fucking wild.
And what happens to things that come from the Supreme Court? The next Supreme Court can take them away. What happens to things that come from executive action? The next executive action or the next Supreme Court can take them away. And I think that this hyperfixation on, no, screw bipartisanship, we're just going to fight with our end of the political spectrum. Our end of the political spectrum is barely winning in the Senate, is no longer winning in the House. So one, I think that focusing on some level of bipartisanship, I think in and of itself is a good, because we have to be able to bring people in Congress to work together again. This relying on the Supreme Court, especially now with a fucked 6-3 Supreme Court, and this relying on executive action is not a good way to conduct affairs, because any gain we make can be lost at the snap of a finger. Number one. And number two, I feel like the bipartisan push is credited to Biden, because when we look at Democrats, so for instance, you said we gave Democrats the House, we gave Democrats the Senate, we didn't give them the courts, and we gave Democrats the presidency, and then look at what we've done. We've gotten the American Recovery Act, we got the infrastructure bill, we got massive legislation. What did Trump do when he had all three and then four parts of government? Trump did nothing. He did his big tax cut bill, and that was it. They didn't repeal and replace Obamacare, which I think Republicans have been jerking off about doing for 8 years, okay? They didn't repeal and replace Obamacare. They didn't make any of the big entitlement cuts they wanted to. They didn't even get their wall funding that they were talking about so much. Trump had to do it via executive action because the president gets wide deference and matters of state security. And they didn't even get the infrastructure bill passed that they said over and over again. Trump said, I could bring people together on infrastructure. He didn't. So the fact that Biden, I understand, especially as progressive, especially when we want politics to be way further to the left, that idea of like, well, just because it's bipartisan doesn't mean it's good. I understand wanting to fight against that, but man, when Congress is like so defunct, I think that being able to get anything passed, let alone the massive legislation Biden has gotten passed, I think he gets credit for that. And I think there's credit where credit is due there.
Okay, so cool. First, Trump actually did the one thing that he and the Republicans cared about, the only thing they cared about, which is tax cuts for the rich. So that was 100% mission accomplished. The rest is...
It's an interesting thing that Mr. Uygur seems to do. And it is that when it's convenient, he will talk about what somebody actually wanted to do versus what they say they want to do, right? So when it comes to Joe Biden, he came in and he said he was going to do things like 15-hour minimum wage and other progressive promises, but he didn't really want those things. He wanted to concede. And since he conceded in some capacity, that means that validates Cenk's conspiracy theory. When it comes to Trump, who came into office and wasn't really able to implement necessarily a whole lot, but he was able to do the tax cuts, but he couldn't do the border wall and whatnot. All of a sudden, that's like, well, he actually did what he wanted to do, and there just seems to be this call to some form of a conspiracy theory every time it's relevant or convenient. It's like, oh, well, this is what they did, this is what they said they wanted to do, but they actually got what they wanted to do, and so apparently Trump did what he wanted to do fully because he just wanted tax cuts and nothing else, and Biden is too. It just seems so convenient that he can just say no. It just seems very convenient that he can just constantly decide what people actually want, what their actual intentions are, without any real proof, and then to just say like they got what they wanted. This person is bad. This person is bad, et cetera, not really engage. It just seems like kind of a cheap way to disengage from the conversation while promoting some kind of like conspiracy theory. I'm sure Trump wanted to do tax cuts for the rich, but then also I'm sure he wanted to do other things that he couldn't get done. So
it's just rhetoric. It's like, oh, I'm going to build a wall. He barely even tried until the end, right? So we all know he's a giant liar. We all agree to that, right, et cetera. But the Republicans revealed themselves. What's the major thing that Ronald Reagan did? Giant tax cuts. What's the major thing that George W. Bush did? Giant tax cuts. What's the major thing that Trump did? Giant tax cuts, right? Shit. So they pass the things they want to pass. And every time, oh, golly gee, there was nothing Democrats could do, right? And when they come back in, so here's a great example, Stephen. So Trump and the Republicans butcher the tax rates, and they take corporate taxes from 35% to 21%, okay? Then Biden comes in and goes, I'm going to raise those back up to 28%.
Yeah.
And I was like, wait, hold on. They were at 35. What do you mean back up to 28?
Well, yeah, so it sounds like he came in and Trump fucked us, and then Biden's like, okay, let's just take one step there so I can try to get it passed in like a bipartisan way. I think that was the goal. Is it ideal? No, of course not. I mean, we probably have to increase the corporate tax rates or whatever even more. But like, it's just like, unfortunately, you can't instantly undo all the damage that's done. The president isn't like a magical creature. So that makes sense.
So, okay, already you agree with the tax cuts for the rich and for corporations. Then Manchin says, no, not 28, 25. And Biden instantly goes, okay, fine, 25. And then they drop it, and it's still at 21. So,
okay.
A, he never fought for it. B, he never wanted to increase them back to where they were. That's a fact. There's no disputing that. And then C, he just didn't even try and loves them where they are. I say he loves them, and you can say, hey, no, I disagree with you, Cenk. Biden doesn't love that. He's just a pathetic ooze of weakness, and he just can't fight back on any of this stuff. And so now that brings us to the point that you made about, well, wait a minute, LBJ had big majorities. Did he? He had big majorities of Democrats. But remember, a giant portion of those Democrats were Dixiecrats. And we didn't just rely on the Supreme Court to pass legislation, to pass things that we agree with, policies, right? And it's kind of funny to say the Supreme Court is passing it, but that was the only functioning body we had left, because in my opinion, the donors bought everything else, and they love the status quo. They ground everything to a halt except tax cuts for the rich. And so, but no, Lyndon Johnson passed the Voting Rights Act, and he passed the Civil Rights Act, and he passed them through Congress. And he passed them despite the fact that a giant percentage of his party were Dixiecrats who ran on segregation, on being racist, and it cost them their careers. But he actually fought. He fought like hell for it. And so did FDR. FDR said, I welcome their hatred, and I'm going to defeat the Republicans' lust for greed. These are super strong words, and he would use words like that all the time, which leads me...
Well, that's cool. But if I want to jerk off to something, I'll just use porn, Like, I get it. Like, it was cool. It was really inspiring. And I don't know too much about this history, but so I can't really speak too much to it. But it sounds like what he's saying is it was really cool back in the day when people like FDR would be super fucking like intense, and that might have been absolutely necessary back then. But that's just like emulation. Like, oh, do that. I want to see you be angry and otherize the conservatives. And I get it. Conservatives, the party can be doing some fucking crazy shit lately. I agree with that. I understand that. But do you really think that that's the best way to operate, is to just be like, yeah, I wish we were back to the old days where we would say, fuck you to everybody. Bring the fuck you guy back. That might not be the best way to operate. That's a hot take. So.
To my other point, which is, how do you think they got those giant majorities? Remember, FDR took over from a Republican. It's not like it was already a big Democratic majority for him. No, he took over and built a giant Democratic majority by fighting for us, by getting results like Social Security and so many other things that he did after the Depression. And one thing now, back to the current day. You mentioned one thing I want to talk about. You strawmanned a little bit, and maybe you're not strawmanning for other people, but for me, I don't come in and go, oh my God, I want a single payer overnight. No, in fact, if you remember the Jimmy Dore clowns did the force the vote in the beginning, and they're like, we're going to force the Nancy Pelosi speaker vote thing so we can get a vote on Medicare for all. I'm like, guys, you're not going to win that. You have no alternative to Nancy Pelosi, and there's no chance Medicare for all passes. So why don't you do something that's actually winnable, use your leverage and power to ask for something we actually can win on, like, for example...
Well, isn't that what Biden did, though? I'm so confused. That sounds like the framing of what Biden's doing. He's winning where he feels like he can win on, but he can't win on every major issue. It sounds like fundamentally when he's talking about whatever other thing is going on here, it's almost like he agrees. It's like agreeable when it comes to that, but that's fundamental logic is the same thing for like Biden right now, no? Okay.
$15 minimum wage, because they already promised it 8 ways to Sunday. They said they were definitely going to do it. So then you use all of your leverage and power to get the things that you can get done, because then you could build from there, right? Okay. So we didn't ask for the moon in the sky. We asked for very reasonable things that corporate Democrats said that they were in favor of. But instead, we didn't even get the bare minimum. Voting rights was supposed to be the bare minimum. And honestly, Stephen, that one shocked me. My bar, as you can tell, for establishment Democrats is very, very low. I have almost no expectations of them. But I thought they would do half the voting rights bill. The anti-corruption stuff written by Larry Lessig, Godfather campaign finance reform movement. I remember talking to Larry about it, and I said, brother, I love you, but there's no way in the world they're going to pass anti-corruption stuff. It's not just the Republicans. The Democrats are just as corrupt when it comes to taking campaign money. So that part has no hope. The gerrymandering thing would be brilliant, but I think very little hope, because the Democrats are also complicit in that. But the other half, they needed for their own victories. They needed black people to be able to vote so Democrats could win. But Biden wouldn't even do that. No, and Stephen, they betray themselves. Last thing here, because there is.
What are we talking about with black people voting? Are we like referring to some areas where conservatives implement policies that specifically negatively impact black people? Because I guess maybe. I'm thinking that we black people might be able to vote right now. I don't really know though. I'm not super educated, but okay.
One time they lifted the filibuster. They said, "Oh, the filibuster is immutable. The parliamentarian rules us." Does she? I didn't know we were in a parliamentarian system or parliament system. But no, they did lift the. They didn't give a damn about the parliamentarian. They did lift the filibuster once to raise the debt ceiling in the first 2 years. So when it affected the stock market, all of a sudden the filibuster is irrelevant. When it came to voting rights for African Americans, oh no, nothing we could do. Filibuster, the Democrats' best friend.
I think so. We can move on from here. I'll give a thing and then you can give a quick, because obviously we can go back and forth this forever. I would like to contextualize where Biden sits at right now on the precipice of extremist disaster in U.S. history. We came off of what is arguably, I'm not going to say the most conservative president ever, because I don't even know if Trump is truly conservative, but I'll say like the most like fascist president ever, at least in my lifetime from what I've seen. We went from that to a crazy packed
fascist. How I fascist? Just because he was saying that we should censor media? Like, and what do you mean? What are you talking about?
Conservative Supreme Court to a Republican House and Senate, and we have slingshotted from that all the way to Biden, and then a liberal majority in the Senate, barely, and House, Senate if you have Vice President, and House, and then from there, after we went from the most fascist regime ever back to Biden, I will agree that it's not like we don't live in the progressive utopia. But we got legislation that is like giving out unbelievable amounts of stimulus to low-income Americans. When you talk about that expansion of the child tax credit, that was insane. When you talk about some of the huge investments in green energy we've made, I'm pretty sure the largest in U.S. history as part of the infrastructure bill, that was insane. When you talk about, I'm pretty sure the Respect for Marriage Act that got rid of the prior, I think, Defense of Marriage Act from the 90s, that we managed to codify some rights around gay marriage. That's insane. The fact that we were able to do these things after Trump, after we were at that extreme of a position, and then we came back and now we're at Biden, and now we're fighting on these things. Again, I think he gets a lot of credit for that.
Maybe, yeah. Probably, but it's interesting that we did have a rather right-wing machine going on, and things slingshotted back so hard, because that suggests to me that the American people voted for that. They were like, "Wow, we are going a little too, what I like to call kookaburra, right? We're going a little too crazy in a way that's like not good for us." And so people voted that change. They wanted to vote to enact that change because it was just such a fucking like catastrophically like insane shift. But like, yeah, I think it speaks a lot more to the people necessarily than Biden. But I mean, yeah, sure.
For being legislatively more effective than Trump, he has been, and for doing this following what is probably the most divisive presidency.
Are you saying that Trump is fascist because he was trying to overthrow the government when they voted him out of office? Like, come on, bro. That's like, what's the bar for fascism? Breathing? You know what I mean? You guys are just crazy.
In U.S. history, I don't think half of Republicans even fucking think that election was real still, because these guys are out here waiting for the magical Supreme Court decision that's going to overturn the prior election or whatever. I guess like the thing that I guess I'm kind of summarizing the list for is like, I don't know what Biden is supposed to do. You know, we can talk about LBJ and the Dixiecrats, and you know, we can talk about, well, you know, these guys fought and they fought and they fought, but these guys had strong grounds to stand on. We are so divided as a country today. Like I said, I'm pretty sure over a quarter of Americans don't even believe the last election was real, and the stuff that we're fighting about today.
There's no way that a quarter of the Americans think the last election was real. Is it really that high? More than 40% of Americans still do not believe Biden's legitimacy won. There's no fucking way. From The Guardian. Is that credible? What are the questions that they ask?
Is so much more nebulous or amorphous than, you know, like civil rights, right? Like, we probably should have the same civil rights.
Only a slim majority, 55% accepts Joe Biden as having legitimately won the election, down from 58%. Really? Why? That's no way. That's fucking wild.
Across the entire country. That's a lot easier than how do we legislate like gerrymandering and, you know, voting and everything in the United States. That gets a lot more hairy when we try to figure it out. So I guess, I mean, yeah, I agree that I wish that Biden could do more, but I'm not entirely sure what he can do. There's like no position.
What are the questions that they ask? There's no way it's this high. Whatever, let's keep
maneuvering here. All it takes is like Manchin or Sinema to be like, you know what? I'm not going along with this. And it's like, well, fuck me. We got 49, 48 in the Senate. I guess we're done completely. And now we're just lame ducking it for, you know, 4 years until, you know, hopefully we do better in the next election.
Okay, I can go on forever on
Sure,
what
sure.
Biden.
I'll give you the last word on this section. Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, so I'll try to keep it as short as I can. Look, yes, I think Trump is a fascist. I think he would end democracy. We agree there.
I think he has a
but
nice
that's, again,
haircut.
super low bar.
So
Hey,
what
I'm
about
not
that?
Mussolini is not a great campaign slogan. And the child tax credit was fantastic. You go back to our videos, you'll see we give a ton of credit for that. But as usual, once it ran out, they just dropped it and never went back to it. So like they dropped every progressive proposal instantly. But that Mountain Valley pipeline for Joe Manchin, they brought it back 3-4 times until they finally put it in a bill for no reason at all. And they put it in because Joe Biden always wanted to do the Mountain Valley pipeline because Joe Biden is Joe Manchin. It was just so gratuitous to put that in the bill. Okay. And then finally, what can he do? Just a short version of it is paid family leaves at 84%. So you go out and you do press conference every single day. You have the largest microphone in the world. And you go, hey, 84%. Or do we live in a democracy or don't we? Did you know that 74% of Republicans want paid family leave? Did you know that Estonia has 82 weeks of paid family leave and we have none? Zero.
Maybe be cool to do some kind of paid family leave or something. You know, yeah, sure.
You have a baby and the woman's supposed to go back into the
you could sell conservatives on that. Guys, we should implement that. All you have to do is tell conservatives that we should do paid family leave because our white birth rates are declining. And they'll be like, oh my God, you're right. They'll go fucking crazy because that's like the conspiracy theory. We're letting too many people from the South in. So just tell them that. Be like, hey, bro, you know, if we can incentivize, you know, we call them native birth rates. Boom. Oh my God, you're so right. Boom. Instantaneously would be into it. Thank you so much for the medium gut jarhead for 6 months. Hey, hope you're doing good. Hopefully we can play Diablo sometimes. Just kidding. Hope you and Mom are good. Thank you, brother. I appreciate that. What class are you playing?
Minds back in the assembly lines. Why are 3/4 of Republicans being ignored by their own politicians? That's because they're corrupt corporate lackeys. You fight, right? But Biden and corporate Democrats don't want to fight. They got no fight in them. I just wish they'd get the hell out of the way. So like, that's why I formed Rebellion PAC in the first place. Let's get some grassroots funding, rebellionpac.com, okay? And let's go kick these guys' asses and show them how it's actually done.
Can we find, I'm curious if we can find agreement here or not. I feel like, in my opinion, the best way to pass a more progressive agenda is to get people to vote out Republicans, as many Republicans as possible. That if the Democrats had wider margins in the House or the Senate, we'd see something get done differently. Because it feels like right now the fixation is like, okay, you know, I know we've got very slim majorities, but we need to get rid of some of these Democrats. We need to get some more progressive Democrats in there. I feel like they'd be in the same position. You know, like you even said, like that force the vote on like Medicare for all. Like, what's the point, right? If you don't have the majorities in Congress to get it done, but you don't agree with that, yeah? Would you?
No, I don't agree with that at all. I guarantee you that that if they had a majority of 4, all of a sudden there would be 4 Democrats that were holding out, not just 2, like Manchin and Sinema. They'd all of a sudden it'd be Coons and Carper as well. If they had a majority of 8, all of a sudden it would be 8 Democrats holding out, because I've covered politics for 25 years and I've seen them do it over and over and over again. And so and in fact, Jayapal just gave away the game. Theoretical head of the Progressive Caucus, or the caucus is theoretically progressive. And she said, well, look, we showed them, we voted no. Now, if they needed the votes, we would have given it to them, but we voted no to show that we disagree. Well, then you just gave away the game, brother, or sister in that case. Okay, so you're just saying, oh, we're just faking it out here. So however many Democratic votes they need to pass these awful bills, we'll always give it to them. But we're going to pretend that we're against this bill because they don't need our votes. That's the kind of gamesmanship that happens. And so, I mean, I guess that's a core disagreement. I don't think that they're golly gee honest people that went to Washington and Mr. Smith just couldn't pull it off. No, they all get massive funding from corporations, corporate donors, PACs, super PACs, and they do exactly as they're told.
But then if that's the case, then why engage with the political system at all? Because now we're back at the square zero. Because now it feels like, yeah, why bother voting or anything if they're all bought and paid for?
No. I don't want people to get discouraged. I'm captain of Team Hope. Okay, so.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like it. I mean, everything it seems like to him is a conspiracy theory. Like when there's no implementation of change, it's a conspiracy that like people are bought. And like I understand there absolutely is like financial aspects to it, but I couldn't imagine. I don't know. It seems a little far fetched that they would promise things that they had never any intention to keep. It's possible that they might promise things they know they can't implement, I suppose, based on like the political climate. But I mean, I guess you could operate that. I mean, I don't really know if you know their intentions, but we kind of know you can't just get everything that you want when you push in. But maybe maybe he's right about some of it at least. He might be right about some of it. I guess it just depends on the individual, and you have to try to find an individual who actually cares. That would be your best argument. Is do you think that like there has to be like a Bernie Sanders, for instance? I think that he would actively want to implement like everything that he platforms for. He may not be able to implement it, but he would want to implement it. But then what you're assuming that Biden has no intention of implementing anything. But I feel like a lot of progressives mostly are like, oh, I think that Biden is like doesn't really care. He just wants to get votes, so he probably would elect or implement these things. I guess I don't know. Maybe I don't know. Maybe he just feels like he can't get 15-hour minimum wage because of just the way things are right now. Maybe that's what it is.
So that's why I helped to form Justice Democrats, because my thesis was if you untether people from corporate PAC money, they could actually be honest. And that's why, is it random that AOC, Rashida Tlaib, and Ilhan Omar were the most visible Democrats when they first got elected? And then Jamal Bowman, Cory Bush, these are all big names you've heard over and over again.
Yeah, but they're winning at plus 40.
Yeah, but I thought that the reason that they were so popular at first is because they were constantly getting like the light shined on them by Republicans, because they were like they're being pointed at as like fucking horrible, what was it, communists, fucking loser, blah blah blah. I'm not saying that they are, but that seemed to be why they were most visible. Unless I'm just interpreting the word like visibility incorrectly, that's also a possibility. So,
but they're winning in plus 40 blue districts, right? This is why when the progressives were talking about like, well, we're going to get a progressive in from Manchin, they got slaughtered. That's why people like Nina Turner, even when they fundraise their opponent 2-1, get destroyed. I don't think there's much credit for progressives that are winning in massively blue districts and then attacking the rest of the Democratic Party from the safest seats of the United States.
No. So, yeah. Stephen, first of all, when we won a lot of those battles, they were not a given at all. AOC beating Joe Crowley in that primary was one of the biggest upsets in political history, in American history. And so now all of a sudden, they always turn impossible to inevitable, right? It was always going to happen. No, it wasn't. There was massive victories in there, okay? And so, but the reason that they fought loudly and strongly for their voters in the beginning was because they're not taking corporate PAC money. It's the donors that hold them back. Oh, don't do class warfare. Oh, don't do that. Don't do this. Don't do that. That's why the corporate Democrats are always hiding. They're hiding in a cave. So yes, there's something you could do. You vote in primaries first, because one, you got to get the corrupt Democrats out, because they're just going to vote with the Republicans anyway on economic issues. But number two, you actually need, when they get into office, for them to vote the right way and to be untethered from the corruption. And I'll give you an ironic example. Matt Gaetz, terrible guy, was on the show. We yelled at him. We yelled back and forth. Got no love for him, right? But he decided not to take corporate PAC money, and then lo and behold, he was the one Republican that proposed an anti-corruption bill. You got to get him out of the minute you detach them from the donors, they become honest. And they might be honestly awful like Matt Gaetz. They might be honestly wonderful like some of the Justice Democrats. But all of a sudden, you get your democracy back a little bit. And so if you don't get money out of politics, then yes, in the long term, it's hopeless. But we must get money out of politics.
Okay. I mean, like, I feel like the more important thing would be flipping.
I mean, I don't necessarily disagree with getting the money out of politics. That makes sense to me. I'm just not sure how pragmatic that is, at least in like a short-term capacity. Like, how do you do that? I guess that, like, the anti-corruption bill, I guess that, I mean, that probably is kind of a big deal to focus on. It's like fixing the political system before we make any actual like progress, I suppose. I just don't know how practical. I mean, that's one of those things where like the system is so deep now with how corrupt it is. I don't know if that'll ever change. I'm not saying I'm not saying it's a bad idea. It sounds like a good idea overall. I just wonder how like possible it would be to implement that so quickly, especially.
Republican votes to Democrat and then fighting from there rather than trying to flip Dem to blue or Dem. But I think we disagree on that. We could go back and forth on that probably forever.
And by the way, Stephen, I'll just say real quick, that's why I formed Just Democrats, so that we could have hope, so that we could have uncorrupted Democrats.
Really plugging
and
this,
that's why I formed Wolfpack. Wolfpack.
Oh, shit.
Wolfpack is getting money out of politics.
I've seen that on TikTok.
Talk about bipartisan. It is massively bipartisan. Republican voters hate corruption. Democratic voters hate corruption. The politicians love it. The voters hate it. So we brought people together, and now we're fighting for it. And it's passed in like 3 Republican legislatures. It's passed in 20 overall in the states. And it's a resolution to call for a convention to get money out of politics, because the only way you can do it is go above the Supreme Court and get an amendment.
Sure.
And so it's a beautiful movement, and you couldn't do it, but you've got to get past the corrupt politicians.
Sure. I mean, I understand what you're saying. I just, like, it's not like having a lot of progressives in Congress have helped at all, right? Like, the seats that are more important are going to be the ones in the middle anyway, right? Our mansions and our cinemas. Because the reason why those seats are important is because we know that those are the only types of Democrats that can hold those seats, right? If AOC starts saying, well, I'm not voting with the party, anything, screw you guys, I want a progressive agenda, okay, fine. Eventually she'll get primaried by somebody else, but that's always going to be a Democratic seat. That's always going to be a safe seat. We're not worried about losing it. I think that's why we fight for those seats in the middle so much more. On the Republican side as well, I think that's why those seats in the middle are so much more valuable, why people fight over them so much more. And I feel like that's why we should be trying to expand our majorities rather than purity testing the seats that are the furthest to the left that aren't as valuable anyway.
So
interesting.
So, Stephen, in my opinion, there's a fundamental misperception in there in the first place, because Joe Manchin.
No, I mean, it makes sense. What he's saying is that, like, AOC, even if she lost, it would have been like a leftist part. It would have been Democrat regardless. So we have to fight more for those middle ground seats that might be Democrat, they might be Republican. Like, yeah, they might be more moderate Democrats that, maybe even they're like moderate left. Maybe they even like middle right slightly, but that's still more than it could have been with somebody who would have been like more right wing based on the state. Like, yeah, sure, I get it. Makes sense.
Not the only kind of guy who could win in West Virginia. West Virginia is very populist. They're more populist than they are conservative, right? The reason Manchin wins is because mainstream media gives him tens of millions, maybe hundreds of millions of dollars in free positive coverage. They call him moderate, right? But if you look at his policy positions, literally none of them are moderate. He takes extreme right-wing positions where the country's not. For example, 3/4 of the country wants to raise taxes on the rich. Joe Manchin comes on TV and goes, I'm a moderate. I want to cut taxes on the rich. I'm reasonable, right? That's not the moderate position. That's a tiny extremist minority of the country. And what does corporate media do? Moderate. No, you go in and you run populist and you say to people, goddamn right, we're going to tax the rich. We're going to finally get justice. You're paying your taxes every day. The middle class gets screwed day in and day out. It's time that the rich pay their fair taxes. It's time that you get to spend time with your baby when you deliver. I mean, I can go on and on. You go populist and you can win so many more of those seats rather than the fake moderates that are just corporate
but I mean, the reality is Manchin voted with Biden's agenda 88% of the time, right? Like, he didn't vote for
what, on post offices?
It's better than having a Republican in there. I mean, how many of the Republicans are voting on Biden's agenda 88% of the time, right? That's what I'm saying. If another Democrat can win in West Virginia, then go for it. My understanding is the last time somebody tried to primary Manchin, the guy got like 30% of the vote, I think. I don't even remember the name.
It's actually, I think it was worse than that. So it was Paula Jean Swearengin. And she's a good person, but not the greatest candidate.
Sure.
And so, look, do you need someone who's a quality candidate? Yes. But honestly, the hardest thing in the world is to get past the mainstream media, because they'll just smear you to death. And so they do it to all the progressives. But I would argue, and now we're going to get too far down this rabbit hole and we have very little time left, but I'll just say, I think Manchin in a lot of ways.
It's also possible that people just like him in that area. I mean, we're talking about mainstream. How mainstream? Are we talking about like local news, or are we talking about like actual? I guess I wouldn't really know. I mean, but okay.
Does more damage than a Republican, because he validates the Republican position by saying, I agree with it, and hence it's bipartisan, hence it's moderate, hence it's the reasonable position. And so I think that does way more damage than just a regular Republican who just seems like an extremist. He makes their extremist positions look good, and that's a world of damage.
Like,
is cutting taxes for the rich an extremist position? I think it's a wrong position, or not increasing taxes. Is that extremist, or is that just stupid? Like, when I think of that seems like it's in the Overton window. Is that how they is that what they call it? It seems like it's something that a lot of people identify with. I wouldn't call it extremist. I guess I could be wrong. I think it's wrong, obviously, but I mean, I would consider extremism like not letting in immigration and stuff like that. That's more extremist to me. It's two different definitions.
Do you think if Manchin wasn't in the Senate, do you think that we would have Jackson as a Supreme Court?
So
like,
look,
do you think that would,
way,
because I understand the frustration, because I feel it too. Okay, I'm not a Manchin or a Sinema fan. I don't think Sinema's a Democrat anymore. Is she an independent now? I'm not fans of these senators. I agree, and it sucks that it feels like like they have so much sway over the party. But I mean, like, this is how politics always works. If you go to countries, for instance, that have multi-party systems, oftentimes you'll get a majority government formed, and all of a sudden that little party with like 6 seats is calling the shots on the majority government because people need those votes. And I feel like Manchin and Sinema to be the same. But I mean, like, when we look at I don't even know how to pronounce her first name. For Jackson for the Supreme Court, when you look at the major legislation that was passed like almost along party lines in the Senate, Manchin sucks, but a Republican there is like game over. Like, now we can't even complain about how bad our legislation is because there's no legislation to even speak of. We would just have a lame duck president.
Yeah, so first of all, by the way, that's another one to give credit to Biden on. I think Justice Jackson has been really good so far. She was a lone vote in a critical union case where even Sotomayor and Kagan voted the wrong way, and it was 8-1. And yeah, so Stephen, it's a balancing act. I don't want people to misinterpret my passion for being impractical. No, you got to get things done. And so if you're just doing it for rhetoric or for release or something like that, that's not at all helpful. You have to, the outrage should bring a spotlight with it, and then you shine that spotlight on the issue where you have winning ground. That's why I talk about paid family leave being at 84%. It's winning ground for us. If we wanted to fight on that, we can win on that, right? But if you say, hey, listen, we need to get a Supreme Court justice passed, so I need to make X, Y, and Z compromise with Manchin or Sinema. Well, look, in that case, I could live with it. It depends. It depends on what are we compromising on? What's the policy? What's the position? What are we going for? So it's not just a blanket statement of, okay, get rid of them or don't get rid of them.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Oh, man, we got 2 other huge topics here. We can do this for a couple minutes. I'm just I'm curious. Has your this was like a major litmus test, I think, for a lot of like media coverage was like the Rittenhouse stuff. Do you still stand by? Do you feel like I feel like when I watch the Young Turks and a lot of other people, there were a lot of insane statements coming out about how like conservatives love to kill people. Conservatives are always looking to kill people. They can't wait to kill. They're constantly looking to kill people, get away from it. Like, do you think that like
I will say that I do think that people in general, especially men, have like a like they have like that I don't want to call it like a hero complex in their brain. You know what I mean? I think that we've all been there, whether it's a positive thought or not. We've all been there where like we're taking a shower or something, and like maybe somebody pisses us off, and we imagine a scenario where we could punch them in the fucking face and like not go to jail. And so I feel like that people have that power fantasy. That's what I want to call it, a power fantasy. We all have that power fantasy. We all have that, you know? And I guess that's what they're speaking to. I don't know if Kyle Rittenhouse went there to engage in a power fantasy. Maybe he did. Maybe he's like, I can't wait to shoot one of those fucking BLM guys. I don't really know. That seems like a lot to assume. It seemed more like that he was like a maybe. But then also, what about the power fantasy of the guy that attacked Rittenhouse? You know, why we don't call out the power fantasy of people weaponizing issues like BLM? And like to come off as more morally virtuous and then like enact violence, you know, and I feel like that's Antifa in a nutshell. Is they'll see like, hey, there's some real issues with BLM, like let's go there and protest, but really they go to their protests is to like weaponize what's going on there. You know what I mean? They're kind of there more than anything else to justify their violent tendencies than they are actually trying to protest for black rights. And that's what I sometimes get the impression of.
like this type of rhetoric or this discussion around what were like largely violent riots that were largely spurred, I think, by like bad media.
I like that discourse. Girls don't do that, and then someone else says, "Speak for yourself, my therapist says that they do." I don't know. Do girls do that the same way? Kat, maybe you're just built different. I feel like girls don't do that. I could just be wrong. I feel like it's normal for men mostly. I'm sure girls do it. I'll ask my wife. She knows everything about girls. She's actually every woman. It's all in her. I'm every woman. I have no way to not make that cringe. Let's go.
Yeah, coverage of the original Kenosha shooting of oh god, what was the name of the guy? They got shot in the back several times. Yeah. It like the whole Rittenhouse saga to me was Jacob Blake gets shot, and there's bad coverage in the media about it, making it seem like he was just an innocent guy getting in the car to drive away. And then riots happen in Kenosha. They get bad media coverage. You've got the CNN, the infamous CNN coverage of, you know, fiery protests, but mostly peaceful in the background. Then you've got Rittenhouse, you know, goes and does his thing, and then we get more bad coverage of that, in my opinion. I think a lot of the facts get misrepresented there, a lot of left-leaning media, and it just feels like we're on this never-ending train of stoking the fires of resentment, hatred, on top of misinformation and bad claims, and then at the end of the day, we all walk away feeling like we've done something good, when we're just like kind of like preaching basically misinformation to the audience and everything.
I feel that.
So, no, I don't... back away.
That's really how I feel. Almost like the conversation is around like how you can't be racist to white people, right? Which does also lead into another question of like, what do we do with that information that Destiny had asked Cenk before? Because here's the thing, right? People will say you can't be racist to white people because of like systemic powers and whatnot. I disagree on an individual level. You can be racist individually to anybody, right? The problem is that when people say this, what are they saying it for? What am I supposed to get out of this concept? And most of the time, anytime I see somebody say like, oh, you can't be racist to white people, blah, 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 it seems to be as a justifier to say something racist, right? Like with the whole cracker thing in Hassan. Like, is it the most racist thing in the world? Like, of course not. Like, no, it's not that big of a deal. But it's like, it's not like he's saying it as like, yeah, guys, we should acknowledge that you can't be racist to white people because it'll help us educate each other on systemic racism. Okay. But instead it's like, you can't be racist to white people. I'm going to call you a quote unquote slur. You're going to try to, right? You're going to try to. And it's like, well, you know, obviously it's not as bad as getting called the N-word, of course, but like, is this a productive conversation to have? Like, can't be racist to white people. Let me try to justify saying being mean to white people. It's like, is that productive? Is that helping people? Or does that kind of come off as something that's a bit disingenuous and really just like an excuse to feel good about yourself? And that's how it reads to me more than anything else, is it's just like a feel-good kind of a situation. It's more to try to justify being an asshole than it is to try to have some kind of an intelligent, systemic conversation. And I kind of feel like that's the Rittenhouse thing. It's like these morally virtuous wins. We won. We destroyed this kid's life for defending himself against a fucking pedophile, a white guy. That was the white guy who was most likely there to cause violence and justify that violence through the weaponization of black issues and BLM. But we don't really look at it like that. You know what I mean? We look at it as if that guy was like some kind of an incredible purist. It's bizarre. You know? It's just so bizarre.
From anything I said. But again, I'm not a standard leftist, right? So it's, and you're not either, right? You're not a standard anything, right? So for example, you support Democrat and what I would call the establishment Democrats, but you have this Rittenhouse opinion, which is a little out of left field, right? Or maybe right field.
I get the joke.
Like I said at the beginning, I respect you for that. That's genuine. It's unique, etc. Right? So on Rittenhouse, yeah, there's absolutely no reason to go with a weapon to that protest or riot. Like if you're right and it's a terrible.
Well, it's legal, so there you go. He wanted to do it to defend himself, and didn't one of the guys shoot at him? And by the way, that guy wasn't a bad guy. Like, what happened was Rittenhouse went there. He had a weapon. He was attacked by somebody else. He disengaged as much as he possibly could, and then the guy kept chasing him, so he had to shoot him. Right. Then other people thought he was an active shooter, so they went and they tried to go after him because they thought he was an active shooter. I feel bad for those people, right? But like, I mean. Somebody, I think, shot at him. One of the people he shot, I believe, shot at him. So, like, what about them? Why aren't you telling them that they shouldn't have a gun as well? My thing is, like, you could argue he shouldn't have done it. That's fine. But, like, it was legally protected. And so now this is a conversation about, like, going after the specific law more than anything else. So.
Right. And in a lot of ways that it was. So so I wouldn't have put up the chyron saying peaceful protests as the fires are going on in the back. No, of course, there was some fires, there was vandalism, there was danger. There's no question about that, right? You can't deny reality. Now, why would I grab a weapon and go in the middle of that? It doesn't make any sense. It's not even his community.
So the obvious, well, I mean, it was his community, but like the obvious comparison would be like the rooftop Koreans.
Yeah, I think his dad worked in that community. It was like a 20-minute drive from his house. Like, it was his community. His dad worked there. So like it wasn't technically his town, I guess, or whatever, but it was still his community. And so that's one of the ways that they like frame it, as if he wouldn't feel some type of way about the community.
Like the Rodney King riots in LA. Like, do you think that does anybody in the United States have any sort of moral right to defend communities they feel attached to? Or do you think that's just...
You could argue he broke the law by taking the gun over state lines in 17, but also I'm pretty sure he was found innocent of that. So, okay. I don't know what to tell you. His mom should never drove. Okay, that's fine. I mean, again, do you think that he's a horrible racist that went there to cause violence, or do you think he was just some kid? I mean, I don't think you're right about the firearm. Why the judge dropped the gun charge? Okay, well, they dropped the charge. So I guess you're wrong about it. This is from PBS. Rittenhouse shot 3 people, killing 2. The jury never got to consider the gun. Okay. The jury never got to consider the gun possession charge. One of the time. Okay. Rittenhouse 17 at the time, and there was no dispute that it was armed the night of the shooting with the Smith in his though the charge was a misdemeanor. Okay. So it was only a misdemeanor. So it's really not that big of a deal. But it was dropped. So I'm assuming it's because it's a misdemeanor. So it doesn't really matter. What, you're such a weird guy. I think he was just some kid. I don't know why you ignored those facts. I don't know why you have such a negative intention on any time that anybody disagrees with you, that like you think that I'm intentionally just ignoring this information instead of like it's not super relevant information because it was dropped, and you're going crazy as if like I'm going fucking ballistic and like doing hyper defense of Rittenhouse. Everything I said about Rittenhouse is a fact. I don't know what to tell you. He shouldn't have had the gun legally. It was a misdemeanor that he did. He was still attacked by somebody that tried to attack him and harm his person. That's a fact. So, like, that's not good. I don't know if you knew this, but attacking people is bad. Hot take. You shouldn't attack people. Everybody clap for my hot take, you know? But yeah, okay. You feel better after you're yelling, or you feel more heard?
No, Steven. So I think those are two very, very different things. Look, you got a store, you work your ass off for it. My dad's an immigrant. He worked his ass off. He built his own business brick by brick. Okay. And you want to protect that. I hear you, brothers and sisters. Okay, I got you. And these days there's a lot of crime. You want to protect your family? Absolutely, I get it. Okay. But he didn't live there. I mean, they crossed state lines. I don't know.
Who cares? He worked like 20 minutes. It was his dad worked there.
Just real quick, because I lived in Nebraska. He crossed it was a 15-minute drive. He lived like 15 minutes away. And when you live in, I lived in Omaha. There's a lot of towns you drive out to that you're like part of those communities. A lot of people in Council Bluffs go to.
Why?
Because
What do you mean why? What do you mean why? This is a weird argument. What do you mean why? Because you have to go to work, and sometimes you work on the border. That's it. Like, that's it. Like, this is, like, check this out. We're going to do this real quick. Hopefully I don't get fucking killed in this game or something. I want to do this really quick, because this has to be one of the dumbest questions I've ever heard in my entire life. Like, this why question is such an ignorant, dumb fucking question to ask. Okay, really quickly. I shouldn't even have to explain this. But, like, check it out. Let's say that this is a landmass, right? And I decided to divide it into 4 quadrants, right? These are all socially constructed boundaries that don't matter. Let's say you live here, and your work is here, and that's a fucking 10-minute drive. Like, you're saying that, like, he should have to work here that's a 40-minute drive just because it's in this same town that I've socially constructed. That's an incredible take. Like, that's bizarre as fuck. It was close enough to work at. People need jobs. My mom used to drive from New York to New Jersey every single day, like an hour change drive, because that's where her job was. Like, I don't know what to tell you. And then you obviously develop relationships with the people there. So what the fuck is Cenk on about? Why? Why what? It's like it's an arbitrary socially constructed line, and it's fine. We need to maintain states' rights and whatever. I'm not saying we shouldn't, but I'm saying that, like, in the grand scheme of things, it's just an area that you drive to for work. It's not that fucking deep.
Why go there?
Well, why? I mean, like, people don't talk about it, but like, like the day before the Rittenhouse thing happened, there was that older guy, Robert Cobb. His business had literally been burned to the ground. It was being arsoned, and I think he was running around with a fire extinguisher trying to put it out. And people,
and what was Rittenhouse going to do? Was he going to sit there and shoot everybody that came by?
I mean, he shot 3 people. I mean, what do you mean? What do you mean?
Yeah, but that's my point. He went there to go shoot. In my opinion, he went there not specifically like in.
I don't think that you could argue that he went there to shoot people, because from my understanding, like, he showed a lot of restraint. He wasn't trying to shoot the guy instantly that was attacking him. He ran away a good amount, and then he eventually had to fight back. So if you have an issue, though, you're going to have to complain about the laws. You can't really complain about what he did. He was within his rights fairly legally, except for the fact that he was a little kid. But okay, yeah, sure, whatever.
My mind premeditated. I'm going to go and murder some people on the left, and I'm going to feel great. No,
sure, but
right?
like, but then when you,
if you don't think that, then where's the debate?
With a weapon, and if there's any kind of provocation, whoo, I might get to use it.
Yeah, but I mean, we can say that, but when you look at the evidence,
so don't propagate.
There's just no evidence. There's nothing that supports that.
No, that's 100%. Look, he goes there with a weapon. He goes to provoke. Then,
but like, where's the provoke? You said he goes with a weapon. Absolutely, goes to provoke. Where you have to show that.
Why did he shoot the first guy?
He shot the first guy because the first guy was chasing him in a parking lot. He'd already made threats earlier. That's on camera, and he was lunging for Rittenhouse's rifle after a guy behind him had fired a shot with his pistol. After Rittenhouse turned around to see where the noise is coming from.
So, but
no, that's ridiculous. You can't say no to that. Engage with that. That's pretty good evidence.
Stephen, I think that you're proving my point, which is
I don't think so at all. I think it was
yeah, somebody has a gun, and you went to attack that person with a gun. They're gonna shoot you. Don't attack people with guns. That's a hot take, though, because I feel like that's really unrealistic. You can't just not attack people with guns. What the fuck is this game right now? I'm like lagging or something, and I can't fucking cross through the boundary here. Incredible stuff. That person, I think you went there to prepare and shot to kill, not the sole reason. I mean, maybe, but you have no proof. That's the thing, is like, innocent people proven guilty. You could be here's the thing. I think he just went there because he was a little Boy Scout, and he is. He's literally a Boy Scout. He was a Boy Scout, and as a Boy Scout, Boy Scouts are kind of gay for their communities. They love their communities. Like, oh, I can't wait to help their communities. But same here, right? I think that's what it is. But burden of proof. Am I right? Different life experiences, different things. You would never do that, so you can think that he's just there to like cause violence or whatever. Maybe, but you have to prove that. You have to prove that intention. That's a wild thing to prove. What if you're wrong and you just don't know, and you decided to like condemn somebody for the rest of their life based on like your assumption of somebody, somebody that's probably like a decent kid that is probably going to be a pretty good contributor to society, all because you felt like he went there for a bad thing. It's fine to feel that way, but like, what do we legislate based on the way we feel, or how do we legislate? Like, or do we try to legislate based on like what we see? Because that's usually how we should operate. So
Go ahead.
So you go into this what you think is a dangerous situation. You go in there with a weapon.
It's funny because I actually have to do an Eagle ceremony on Sunday for my cousin. I'm going to be reading the Eagle Charge. At least half of it, or the first part of it. It's like 90% of it. This is the first half, apparently. But it's fine. I'm looking forward to it because I'm an Eagle Scout myself, so it'll be pretty cool. So.
Then you hear a shot. That's true. There was a shot. He heard it. He didn't see where the shot was coming from. He just turned around and shot the guy.
He turned around and shot a guy that was lunging.
Reckless.
No, it wasn't
Reckless.
It wasn't reckless at all because he only shot the guy that was lunging for him, trying to grab his rifle. This is indisputable on video. The guy was chasing him down. He turned around. He was lunging.
Can I come to your house with a weapon, and then if you grab for it, I get to shoot you?
What the fuck are you talking about? Were they at the guy's house? There's no way he's making an honest argument, dude. They're in the street, and the guy, somebody lunges to attack you. Like, of course, I would shoot you too. I'm not trying to harm myself. I don't want to. I wouldn't be there with a gun in the first place. But, like, if you want to argue that the guy lunged for the gun because he thought Kyle Rittenhouse was going to be a bad guy, that's fine. Like, you could probably make that argument, like, oh, maybe this guy who was like a convicted pedophile, maybe he is a really good guy, and he saw that Kyle Rittenhouse had a gun and he wanted to protect other people because he thought he was going to do something bad with it. Like, you could argue that. He's still wrong because there was no evidence to support that. But, like, okay, you can argue that, and, like, you might make, like, I'll take your argument as at least, like, some kind of rationale. But outside of that, you got nothing on that argument. There's nothing to prove that in any capacity at all. So...
Probably, yeah. If you were in my house,
crazy.
No, hold on, wait.
Crazy?
If you come to my house and you have a weapon on you, and we get into an altercation, I'm gonna grab that gun from you. Of course, you have a right to defend yourself, especially if I was twice your size.
My house with a weapon in the first place. What am I doing there?
Hold on. You shouldn't be in my house with a weapon because I'm on private property. The city of Kenosha was not private property. Rittenhouse had just as much a right to be there as any other protester did.
So listen, I'll give you an analogy. January 6th. I'm very upset about it. I don't like what happened there at all. I think they were trying to undermine our democracy. If I went in there with an AR-15 or any kind of weapon, and I looked for a threat, I'd definitely find one, and then I'd get to kill everybody that I thought was a threat. I mean, that guy you say is lunging for his weapon. From what I saw, that guy's trouble. I get it. He was troubled, I should say. The first guy who got killed, right? And so he goes, maybe he went looking for trouble too. I don't know, right?
Well,
but he threw a plastic bag that had plastic.
But you can't say I don't know. You can't say he was looking for trouble. I don't know, because if he was, then that debunks your entire narrative. If he was there to look for trouble, and then he found it, why wouldn't you? Like, Rittenhouse has to. You can't downplay the idea that he was there looking for trouble. He may have been, he may not have been. I think he probably was, based on the fact that he lunged at a guy. But it doesn't really matter because he lunged at a guy with a gun and he got shot. Like, oh well, like, that's life. They play stupid games, win stupid prizes, am I right? But, like, we're having this weird fucking terminally online debate about this. It's ridiculous.
Plastic bottles in it.
Wait. The plastic bag Rittenhouse didn't even see the plastic bag. The issue was but the issue is Rittenhouse was running away. This guy was chasing him, and then Rittenhouse turned around with an assault rifle. The guy went to grab the rifle from him. That's a pretty clear cut. Like,
Steven, if we follow, and then he got hit with then he shoots and kills someone. Then he's running through the crowd. He's made the situation 10,000 times more.
He's not making this. He's running away from.
He's running away from people trying to go to the police. Bro, there's no way. What's the bar for, like, education on this topic? I think it's just so easy to have the progressive perspective on it and not put any critical thought into it, that, like, Cenk hasn't really done any research on it and, like, actually know what's going on. Like, he's very quick to condemn because that's how things are. Same thing with City by Karen. I'm gonna say it again. Like, very quick to condemn, label somebody some kind of a fucking aggressive, hateful racist instantaneously the second that something happens, where it's a white person in relation to black people. It's fucking wild, man. It really is just insane. We're fucking crazy. Our society's fucking ballistic sometimes.
He's running to the cops to turn himself in, which is exactly what he should be.
The crowd is everywhere. The crowd is everywhere. He's running through the crowd, and then somebody sees that he shot someone, and they go after him with a skateboard, which I wouldn't have done, right? But now he shoots and kills the guy with a skateboard.
Yeah, because the guy's trying to assault him with a skateboard. If he had a bat, we'd say the same thing. Yeah.
Okay, look, couple of things. Everybody's different, right?
Yeah.
So I get it. Some people will be scared, and if you get hit with a skateboard, you think, all right, I'm gonna murder that guy. For me, I get hit with a skateboard, I don't shoot the other guy.
Well, here's the thing. I'm like a 6'4" big old guy, right? Now, so maybe if you were coming at me with a skateboard and I had a gun, maybe I wouldn't shoot. Maybe I'd be like, oh, look at this idiot coming at me. We're talking about like a 17-year-old kid, right? And I feel bad for the skateboard guy because he was probably just thought there was an active shooter and he was trying to defend other people. And I could respect that. And I feel bad for that. But I mean, again, who's the main aggressor? Is it Kyle Rittenhouse or the fucking guy who tried to attack him in the first place? Papa Gut, you're missing the mark right now. Oh, if Kyle was there with a gun, knowing that the environment would be hostile, there's an issue because unlike the police, he can't. I can't read that fucking word because it's stupid ass shit. Let's see, because he can't detain people, but rather he'd have to. What the fuck are you talking about? Okay, first of all, saying that I'm missing the mark is this interesting, like, silly goose thing to say. I think you're missing the mark because you're so desperate to defend the situation. But you're missing the mark. He's innocent. He was deemed innocent. He went there. He had a gun. It was legal to have a gun there. If you have an issue with gun rights, then have an issue with gun rights. But he was legally had a gun there, except that he was young, so maybe he shouldn't do that, which is a misdemeanor. And then a fucking guy assaulted him, and he defended himself, tried to run away, and then other people went after him. Like, you're missing the mark. Who cares? Like, if you have an issue with gun violence, that's fine. But like, the reality is a guy that knew he had a gun attacked him with a gun, and then he defended himself. Like, I'm sorry, I'm not like that's what happened. If you have an issue with guns, that's totally cool. But like, that's the way the system works. And like, you're sitting here defending the narrative that's trying to paint Kyle Rittenhouse as some kind of like active intentional aggressor when he's operating within the law. So like, this is an issue with possibly gun laws, but this is an issue with Kyle Rittenhouse, some dumb fucking Boy Scout, literal Boy Scout, who was just trying to protect his community. And you're running haywire with it. So I don't know what to tell you. Don't attack people with guns. I don't know what to tell you. Okay. There you go. That's the mark that we're missing.
If somebody hits you with a skateboard in the face, there's like a 20% chance that you die. A skateboard?
Okay,
Skateboards
I'll
are a
take
big
the
thing.
chance.
Okay, that's great that you would, but I wouldn't compel a 17-year-old to take that chance in the middle of the mud.
Come on,
Especially,
skateboard.
what the people that beat that one dude within an inch of his life, Robert Cobb, the day before, that everybody that went to this protest, they've all seen videos of that. That's why people went to the riots the second day. That guy got beat to an inch of his life with bare fists.
Steven, if you say, hey, listen, I see an altercation on the subway, the bus, the street, and I'm going to go protect not even a family member, but a random woman walking by, working class person, and they're getting picked on, and I happen to see it, and you jump in, I got you, okay? And I actually appreciate you, right? But you make an active decision to drive into what you think is a riot and a dangerous situation with a weapon, and then you get freaked out by the plastic bag and a shot you didn't see.
Well, usually when you see somebody with a gun, you're not supposed to aggress onto them. Usually you'd go, that guy's got a gun. I don't think I'm going to aggress onto this person. That's just my normal thought, but I also might just be a fucking idiot, apparently, right?
Skateboard, and you kill 2 people. That's on you, brother. You never should have gone there in the first place. You were looking for trouble, and then you found it, and then you cry like you're a victim? Oh, hell no. Steven, the problem here, sorry, one more thing.
Go for it.
The problem here is that if we follow your way of thinking about it, and you tell me otherwise, of course, so I don't want to put words in your mouth, but if we follow that way of thinking, then everybody's going to grab a weapon. They're all going to be in the streets. And the minute anybody looks kind of funny at you or throws a bag or you hear something that's loud or there's a guy with a skateboard, boom, 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 we're shooting each other to no end. That's
an issue with gun rights. That's your issue is with gun rights, not Kyle Rittenhouse utilizing the gun rights. So, yeah. That's your issues with gun rights, not Kyle Rittenhouse. Like, I agree, we should probably have some more strenuous gun rights or gun control. Of course, I agree with that. But we have to look at the laws that are in place because they will dictate to some extent the way that we act, of course. So.
To no end. That's why stand your ground is a disaster. And wherever they pass stand your ground laws,
stand your ground
you have
issue.
more homicides every time.
That's a stand your ground issue.
If you have videos coming out of people who are losing their businesses, who are getting beaten by people on the street, who are rioting in a city, the next day, people are going to show up to defend that town. Like, we live in the United States, whether we like guns or we don't, that's the reality of it. Rittenhouse had more of a right to be there than any of the rioters that were there after dark, that were setting things on fire, that were causing... He had just as much as right to be there, if not more than any other person. In the United States, you are allowed to carry a weapon on you as well. The idea that he was shooting Rosenbaum because he threw a bag at him, that's just not true. We can watch the videos a million times. Rosenbaum was already getting violent before in the night. There is no video of Rittenhouse provoking anybody ever. There is video of Rosenbaum talking to people, using the N-word, saying, I'm gonna fuck somebody up. He was the one that was chasing Rittenhouse for like 20 meters through a car park before Rittenhouse finally turned and shot him. And then the other guy was charging with a skateboard to hit him. Grosgord's charging with a pistol to shoot and kill him, and he got shot. His arm got shot. I don't see the wild chain of events where it's like, oh my God, since Rittenhouse was allowed to shoot a guy that was charging him for 20 meters and trying to grab his rifle, and then he shot another guy that went to attack him with a skateboard. Like, yeah, I mean, in the United States, with a guy with an AR-15, that's about what I would expect to happen. And I mean, we're a year or two later. It's not like there's been a deluge of shootings of innocent skaters now by young boys with AR-15. So I mean, it doesn't seem like the landscape changed very much.
No. So Steven, look, there's a couple of things here. So number one, the jury gets to decide whatever they decide. And so if they decided, hey, you know what, that was enough of a self-defense, okay, that's what the jury decided. So I'm telling you my perspective on it.
Yeah.
And I get that you might technically get away with it if it's a skateboard and you felt, oh my God, the skateboard's a little dangerous. And the guy lunging at me, you know how many guys have lunged at me in my life? If I'd have killed all of them, I'd have killed like 20, 40 guys, okay? So,
whoa, tough guy here, huh? This is stupid. This whole thing is stupid. It's crazy how much discourse is around here where there's a guy charged a fucking guy with a gun and got shot. Like, I don't know how much empathy we're supposed to experience here. And we're assuming that the kid was there to cause violence, even though that was his community and people were getting hurt there like the previous fucking like past few days. But when the other guy goes there looking for a fight, we can apparently see that he wants to fuck people up based on apparently there's fucking audio of that, if that's true. Like we don't assign any intentionality to him. Like maybe that guy started it. Maybe the guy that charged the guy that was apparently saying that he wanted to fucking kill people. We don't think that maybe he's the bad guy here. It's the kid that wanted to go defend his fucking community. I don't get it. It makes very little sense to me. It seems very bizarre to me. But okay.
So
okay.
But so there's the hey, should he be guilty? That's up to the jury. There's should he have done that? And I think that's crazy that he went there.
No,
he definitely should not have done that.
Him.
And then so I'm going to ask you.
Okay.
So do you think that 10 guys, 100 guys, I don't know, 200 guys with weapons should have gone to January 6th, left-wingers,
no,
and said, all right, we're here to protect the peace. I mean, this isn't just our community. This is our nation. And
well, the difference is that people were destroying property over the BLM riots. So, like, even though I can be on board with, like, BLM fundamentally, I'm not on board with property destruction. I don't think, in this case, that the government's destroying... They were there to protest the government. Like, false, whatever bullshit. Like, just stupidity. Which wasn't real. But I think it's different, given the circumstances. One was driven by an insane conspiracy theory by a fucking president that lost and can't take the L. The other is driven by actual violence caused in a community and wanting to protect that community. So, probably not the same thing. But if it was legal, then sure, I guess. But, okay.
it looks like you guys are here to do a coup.
Oh my god, okay. Papa God, it's stupid for the people to attack a guy with a gun, but you have to admit it's also stupid for him to go to protect where people have been have heightened emotion to go, well, I really am I'm happy that you guys assign so much like personhood to a 17-year-old or so much responsibility to a fucking 17-year-old kid for not acting perfectly. I've said it before, like, yeah, I don't think that he really should have went there with a gun, but also, what's his perspective? Oh, people are being violent and destroying things here. I should probably go with a gun so I don't get violently destroyed. Like, how does that thought process not make sense to you? I want to go protect my community, but I think I might get hurt because people are getting beat up. I'm going to take a gun for protection. Like, you guys are still arguing in a way where you think he went there to cause violence when you have no proof of that. It's almost like, this is what's happening. Every single one of this is what's actually happening, and it's not going to make you agree with me just by calling you out, but I'm going to do it anyway. Every single one of you, when you saw the Kyle Rittenhouse situation happen, instantly agreed Kyle Rittenhouse was a bad guy, and you've just been slowly shifting the goalpost from there because you realize that you're being silly. That's what really happened. You guys realize that you kind of fucked up. You kind of have a bad perspective on this, and that you're wrong about it. But you need to shift the goalpost and still be like, well, I still am kind of right? Like, that's what happened. You guys just take the fucking L. The kid was there to protect this community, and he had a gun because people were being violent, and that's it. And he's innocent. That's it. And some fucking pedophile that was there apparently causing violence, wanting to look for a fight, attacked him. And you guys want to like double down on this guy. Like, it's really weird. I don't get it. So that's just what is based on the information. So, yeah.
We're here, okay?
I'm not going to really debate it in the chat anymore.
With AR-15s. What do you think would have happened?
Okay.
I mean, I don't know how many people there had weapons. It's based on what was the name of the crazy Proud Boys or whatever? It sounds like there might have been more guns than that already on the premises.
No, but there was only guns on one side. If there was guns on both sides, what do you think would have happened on January 6th?
I mean, there were police officers there with firearms that showed up, right? It's not like there was a mass
shootout. The police officers let right-wingers do anything they want. They let them.
No, they absolutely
If those guys were black, they would have gotten slaughtered. If those guys were Muslims, it would have been
if that's true, then we would have seen thousands or tens of thousands of black people killed during the BLM riots, but that didn't happen, right? I don't think black.
Wait, did they bum rush the Capitol? Did they threaten to murder Mike Pence?
No, but they burned down police stations, cars, state houses. We saw it in Kenosha. Not that many. There were millions of people protesting. For your statement that police officers are looking to indiscriminately kill black people, no,
I did not say that.
Well,
I did not.
In one of your videos, well, hold on. In one of your videos, you said if you walked into a car with a rifle as a black person, you would get immediately killed. And you're making it sound like if black people would have shown up for January 6th, they would have gotten killed. I mean, there was a lot of rioting for the BLM stuff. It's not like that many people got killed by the cops. So I think that the idea that cops are just looking to kill black people, or black people are going to get killed for rioting more than white people, I think we would have saw a lot more death during the BLM riots if that was the case.
Yeah, let's not put words in each other's mouths, me included, right? So I hear you, but
he literally just said it. He said what?
Saying indiscriminately. I'm not saying cops are looking to kill black people. I'm just saying if thousands of black people or Muslim people were bum rushing cops who were trying to protect powerful people like our Congress people, tons of them would have gotten shot. And we can disagree on that. That's okay. You think no, the cops will just let them walk in like they did with the white right wingers? Maybe.
Didn't
But
like
I
three
doubt
of them get shot when they walked in?
But you didn't answer the core question. If a whole bunch of left wingers had gone there with weapons, do you think that would have been a good idea?
No, I generally, from all the data I've seen, the more guns in an area, usually the more fucked up shit is going to be always. Like,
okay, great.
That's just statistically. But that's up against our.
But that's the thing is that like you're not like this is the problem. It's that yeah, there should be better gun control, but since this is the system we're operating in, Kyle Rittenhouse was within his rights to operate the way he did. Thinking that that's not how it should have been is a system issue. You advocate against that system, but it is not an issue for him individually. Because he's operating within like the way the system operates, and that's why you create laws to change things so that you can implement rule sets for people to follow. So there you go.
Second Amendment rights as Americans, right? I would almost always compel people to, but I mean, I'm also wealthy. I would compel people to leave your property if you want. When I was poor, in college, I probably would kill somebody if they tried to steal my shit, if I had the opportunity to see it, because that's your lifetime's worth of shit that you put into buying stuff that you have. So, you know, like if black people had the ability to defend themselves during the Tulsa race riots, during the Black Wall Street being burned down, for the Koreans that defended their communities, for the Black Panthers in California that felt the need to defend their communities with rifles. I mean, if minority communities or if any community wants to take up arms and defend their community, in the United States, you have the right to do that. And if I was going to come down on any side in a conflict there where people start getting killed, I would always come down on the rioters first. For Kenosha, the people that were primarily at fault were the people that were there after dark that were setting shit on fire. Those are the people who have the primary responsibility for everything that happened. As much as we talk about showing up to a riot with a gun and how irresponsible it is, Grosskreutz, the guy that got his bicep shut off, he showed up with a gun. He almost used it on Rittenhouse, right? So I mean, yeah.
Well, by the way, two things about that. Number one, he didn't. So apparently you could show restraint, even though he got shot. And number two, he shouldn't have shown up with a gun either. Here, look, my last thing on this is I'll give you the most extreme example. So you remember
that guy showed up with a gun and then shot at somebody he thought was a threat, just like Rittenhouse did the same thing. So he did the exact same thing Rittenhouse did.
Charlottesville, of course, the Nazis chant the Jews will not replace us. Now, would anybody begrudge 10, 20 Jewish guys going in there with weapons and going, no, you're not going to chant this stuff in our community? Well, I mean, that's like the guys that you could least begrudge. I mean, these guys are literal goddamn Nazis, and they're chanting against the Jews while carrying torches, right?
Yeah.
But if those 10 or 20 Jewish guys asked me, I'd say, I love you, brothers and sisters, and I love your strength, and I love your attitude, but don't go.
Yeah, me too. But if those Nazis attacked them, I would say shoot the fuck out of them, which is what happened with Kyle Rittenhouse. So what the fuck are we debating anymore?
Because it's guaranteed that people are going to die if you go. Okay.
Okay.
So, and some of them might be you, some of them might be the other guys, but I don't want anyone to die. Okay. But to your point of like, me saying, Republicans want violence from time to time. Oh, that's crazy. No, they're just like us. No, there's polling. 28% of Republicans say that it's time for violence. Okay. So that's a giant number. And
it is, but I mean, for Charlottesville, as hateful as that riot was, they weren't destroying the city. I think that's a key component that, like, not to mention, and for Kenosha, that city was being destroyed off of misinformation reported about the Jacob Blake shooting. And there were videos of, like, people getting attacked, of car dealerships being set on fire. It just seems like there's remarkably little empathy for the people whose community, if you go to Kenosha today, if you go downtown, there's still shit that's boarded up that has never opened again as a result of those riots. And people are just fixated on the people that were, I mean, as shady as it is, defending their community against who they perceived as outsiders that were coming just to destroy it. But
yeah, so look, I keep saying last thing because we're so out of time.
Sure. Yeah, sorry,
one more last thing. So to that point, Stephen, so some people say, hey, riots are the voice of the unheard. And I hear that, and that's a fair point. But by the way, you could maybe make that argument about January 6th, too. And so that's a different, very long conversation, okay? But that, to me, does not excuse going and setting a building on fire. No excuse.
Okay.
So I'm not excusing that 1%. Now, but if you think it was just because of, like, bad reporting on one case, I don't think you even think that, right? You know the context is...
Well, the Kenosha riots happen because of the Jacob Blake misreporting. A to B, a direct line.
So you know the context of tons and tons of unarmed black guys being shot by cops in this country.
No, there are not tons and tons of unarmed black guys being shot by cops.
All right, okay, so you don't agree with that. Okay, fine.
Well, how many do you think a year get shot? How many unarmed black guys getting shot by cops?
Okay, Stephen. Okay.
It's interesting because, like, we know that there are some issues when it comes to the way the police treat people of color, of course, but then there's this sensationalization that Cenk Uygur is engaging in, where he's just like dialing it up as much as possible. And like weaponizing this issue. And remember before he said he would say things like very aggressively and like, vitriol, with a lot of vitriol to get attention. And I wonder if all that sensationalization is part of the same thing. There's a way to acknowledge that there are issues with the way that our police officers engage with people of color without being so massively disproportionate. So
let me finish the point.
Okay.
Wrap up.
The number's like 12, but yeah, go ahead.
Okay. All right. So if you look, I think that if you say to all black people in this country, you're all telling us you've been abused by cops, whether it's to the extreme of being shot or pulled over or arrested or something smaller. You've been abused, all of you, tens of millions of you say that, and you've been saying it for 100 years straight, and then we turn around and go, we don't believe you. I think that's
that's different from saying, hey, a lot of black people have had bad interaction with cops. Is different from saying they're getting shot, like hundreds of them or whatever are getting shot constantly or whatever fucking he said before. Those are two different things to say.
Deeply offensive.
Okay.
I think it doesn't make sense. I think it's ridiculous. So that's the context in which that riot happens. It doesn't excuse the riot. And by the way, the misreporting, yeah, okay, it turns out he had a knife, but they did shoot him in the back 7 times.
Because he was about to drive off with abducted children. That's a really important part.
He's not a good guy.
Wait, this is what Jake... I didn't look into Jacob Blake. From what I vaguely... I remember not looking into it because this shit gets fucking insane. So that was the story that Jacob Blake was trying to, like... He had a knife and tried to steal a car with children. Yeah, and he got shot. Okay. Oh, well. Oh, I mean, stop trying to steal people's kids. Wait, is that what happened? Jacob Blake tried to steal people's kids and he got shot? Oh, well. Who gives a shit? If he was trying to take kids, who cares? He's attempting to kidnap. He's apparently trying to kidnap kids. But were the kids black? It sounds like that knife situation where there was that girl that was about to get stabbed by another girl, and I think they shot the girl, and they called it racism because the cop, but she was going to get stabbed to death, and that's how these things work. He just beat a girl and tried to steal his kids from her. Okay, he was going to abduct his baby mama's children, and were they his kids? His ex's kids or his own kids? Apparently he was trying to kidnap his own kids. I mean, it seems a little complicated. Were they his own kids? Did he not? Well, I mean, either way, if he didn't have custody in some capacity, maybe he was considered a threat. I guess I don't know. The kids were his, but he wasn't supposed to have them. Okay. They were his biological sisters, but he didn't have custody. I mean, that's still important because if he was a deadbeat dad and he just wanted to take the kid, I mean, that's like for the courts to decide. I don't know the context behind why he wasn't taking care of his kids already and why he was trying to steal the kids. But if he didn't have custody, he should have went through the court system to get custody. I know it could be difficult, but I don't know the specifics. But stealing kids that he had no right to take, I mean, okay. And he apparently just finished beating her ex. If that's true, like why do we care about this guy? You know, like don't try to kidnap kids or beat women. I don't know. I think it's a hot take. Sure, he should have been locked up and had his day in court. Absolutely. But if he had a knife and he was trying to take kids, I think I understand why the police did what they did. I guess maybe the police should have shot sleeping darts at him, so he would have just fell asleep. Just fell asleep, and everybody would have been happy. Maybe the Avengers could have showed up and they could have incapacitated him. That would have been a little more effective. We need Avengers so that we can safely apprehend guys with knives trying to steal kids. I have a lot of empathy for those people because very relatable to me. Okay. I'm not super empathetic. Do better, cops, in that scenario.
He's not
a good worst guy. Yeah, but I'm saying that he was about
doesn't mean you shoot him in the back. There's other solutions other than
already tased him twice.
Shoot a guy in the back.
They didn't just show up. They were wrestling with outside the house. They tried to wrestle on the ground multiple times. They tased the guy twice.
Rittenhouse were showing up. Okay, so
they tried to tase him twice and it was ineffective. Oh, okay, that makes sense why they'd have to escalate. Would the same thing happen to a white man? I don't know. But if a white guy was trying to steal kids, I would hope he gets shot too. I don't really know what to tell you. I don't give a fuck. I mean, I understand what you're saying, but also at the same time, do you think that maybe you're getting a little too caught up in that racial argument and maybe not looking at the information enough of we're talking about a dude who tried to steal kids and had a knife and beat his ex-girlfriend? What if we looked at those and went that's not a good thing, but maybe the police acted disproportionately? But instead it's this guy had riots around his name even though he beat a black woman, I'm assuming, and tried to steal black kids. I don't know. What about the defense of them? I'm sure she's very appreciative of that. I'm not saying don't be upset. I'm just saying like we're not. It's I think that there's a better way to talk about like, hey, shouldn't have happened this way, but we also can see that this guy was not a good person. But
look, I think that this whole thing, the Second Amendment, I got a right to bring weapons. Everybody's going to bring weapons, and we're all going to kill each other. I think it's a disastrous idea.
Sure. We should work on the Second Amendment. I mean, people should still have the right to bear arms, but that's a different conversation, though, right? So,
one who were right wing or left wing, and by the way, Stephen, we've fought back against any kind of violence, including from our side. Even things like that Riley Gaines, I think, the swimmer, she goes and gives a speech at some college, and then the leftists surround the room that she's in and won't let her out, and she's afraid for her safety. Cops won't let her out because they're afraid for her safety. What are you guys doing? To be a progressive is to believe in nonviolence.
Sure.
We don't do those thug tactics. Okay?
Whoa!
Coverage of the Michael
Do you
Ryan-
guys think that was racially charged? I mean, think about it, man. I mean, everything's racist now. You think that he was trying to like dog whistle us right there? Guys, I think Cenk Uygur tried to dog whistle us. I think my wife's boyfriend said that that's a dog whistle. I'm the history wizard, by the way, guys. It's incredible stuff.
The whole
That's
guy
a very
was a
obscure
lot
joke
different,
for
and I
you
think that
guys.
was a shooting that was clearly in the wrong. He was stalking a dude for hours, chased him across the street, and shot him in the face, and then ran away. And they gave interviews to Vice, and you guys were comparing that to like, oh well, if Rittenhouse could kill the one guy that was chasing him, this guy's killing should have been just as supported. I don't know. Like when you build up this world of like alternative fact reporting over and over and over and over and over again, like it's not surprising to me that after a while you've got people on the right and left that just live in totally different worlds. So people on the left are like, of course we're going to go riot and burn down cities. Hundreds or thousands of people every year are getting indiscriminately killed by the cops, and then people on the right are like, I don't know why you guys are burning down anything. We lived in a totally different fact world where all of your stuff is misreported, where people like, and then like even like like the Rittenhouse killings are being compared to like Breonna Taylor, which is actually a truly tragic case where a woman died for no reasons.
True. Very true. That Breonna Taylor case was fucked. That entire situation was fucked. That was horrible. She's somebody that really should be pointed to as like somebody who was like actually the target of, I would say, some form of systemic racism. I mean, there was like no justification from what I remember at all for the police to do that. Like they couldn't hear them. What had happened, like the guy was in the house and he couldn't really hear the cops. He had to legally obtain fire, couldn't hear the cops, and they just started barging in. And then like they ended up turning into like a shootout where fucking Breonna Taylor died. Like that situation was fucked. And I think that there was tons of different, I don't even think there was, I think there was like ordered to knock. There was a lot there, but that was a horrible tragedy. And you can't point to her and like say that she was bad in any capacity. She was like a fucking, I think like an EMT, right? Like she was like an outstanding citizen. And we don't talk about her enough, but we talk about like George Floyd and stuff a lot, which we should talk about those. We talk about like Jacob Blake apparently a lot, or Kyle Rittenhouse a lot, but like what about making like Breonna Taylor the fucking, I think it's just because it doesn't get views, because it's not a highly contested for the most part in the same way. And so it's more about like sensationalization to have the conversation instead of like, championing real people that were tragically destroyed by the system, like Breonna Taylor, because that situation was fucked.
Where at best the cops were serving a not great warrant, and at worst they shouldn't have even been there. And you've got people comparing like Breonna Taylor and Philando Castile, the black guy who got shot and killed in his car because the cops smelled weed, are comparing this to like the Rittenhouse killings and stuff. And it's like, geez, when all of it gets thrown together, it feels like it's easy to take none of it seriously, and that's the kind of thing that's frustrating to me.
That makes sense, yeah.
All right, I hear you, but I again, we don't agree, and I think that this fetish of guns drives way more violence. It's an empirical fact. The more guns we have, the more homicides there are, the more suicides there are, the more tension we have in the country, the more we distrust each other, the more fearful we are, and the more we strike out against one another and shoot and kill. And what we're trying to do on the Young Turks is to end all that stuff. The right wing, they'll never listen. But for the left wing, we try super hard to make sure that there are no riots, there's no violence, there's no threats. That's not what Martin Luther King stood for, or Nelson Mandela, or Mahatma Gandhi, and we remind our audience of that day in and day out. We probably do it more than any other show.
Okay.
Cool. There's anything here we go back and forth for hours for, but I'll respect your time. We're already 20 minutes over, so do you have any final closing words or thoughts, remarks, or anything? Or
just look, guys, get in the fight, and by that I mean not
beat each other up,
and not on the street, but I mean do something. If you're frustrated,
donate to Cenk Uygur.
And I agree on, right? If you're frustrated about the lack of progress, then support a candidate, support a group. Look,
support
I'm
young
lucky
Trickleton.
I get to form groups, right? Because we've built up some degree of power leverage, et cetera, at TYT, right? But help Justice Democrats bring more uncorrupted progressives in the Congress to fight for you. Help Rebellion PAC get progressives elected that are going to be aggressive and make sure that they get paid family leave passed, et cetera. Help Wolfpack to get corruption out of politics. Or you form your own organization, and if you love Biden, then support Biden. If whoever it is, but get in the fight and do something. Because if we all just sit around, the status quo is not helping anyone, and it's brutal, and it's going to run us all over.
By the way, this is the wolf pack he's referring to.
So let's get up, let's fight together, let's win together.
Gotcha. Well, cool. Thanks a lot. Obviously, I encourage my audience to do the same. Get Republicans out of office. I think it'll make a big difference. If you want to vote for progressives, knock yourselves out. But man, get Republicans out of office. Thanks a lot. I appreciate it. And I mean, people can find you guys obviously at the Young Turks. I don't think I need to point that out. But yeah, thanks a lot. I appreciate the conversation. Thanks for joining.
All right. Thank you, brother.
Yep. See you later. Bye.
Oh.
Please explain to chat why you think Trump is a fascist. The biggest hallmark, the biggest two hallmarkers for me is that Trump wanted single person rule. Trump wanted to be able to rule with a pen. He wanted to be able to do everything on his own. Number one, he had no respect for political process. And then two, this kind of goes along with it. I don't think Trump has respect for rule of law. He wants to bend the rule of law to suit his particular needs. In my opinion, those two things, and like a disdain for liberal values, those things make you like essentially a fascist. He wasn't actually, because he couldn't. I think for whatever reason, the guardrails on U.S. democracy were, I guess, stronger than we all thought. But goddamn, did he try? Things like getting Pence to overturn the vote, things like talking about arresting political opponents, revoking citizenship from people that disrespected the flag, getting the Supreme Court to give him an okay to go and do border policy, trying to ban groups of people from this country for U.S. security reasons when it was just race-based. Calling Georgia to find the votes he needed to flip that election, undermining the integrity of our electoral process, constantly talking about how the fact that the ballots were going to be rigged, constantly playing into the narrative that the election was like all of these things are like fascist in nature, in my opinion. Authoritarian, ultra-nationalist, ultra-isolationist, ultra-populist, like, yeah.
Okay. Cool video.